Hello once again, everybody. My name is Minton Bedoy. I am a forensic scientist from the world of mystery novels, and this is Kamaitachi no Yoru, as it was the last 7 times we streamed this. We have... Okay, does that work now? Stayed up last night testing it, seeing if we couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and I couldn't really find a good, really satisfying solution. Also, hello, Tomei, welcome back. It's nice of you to show up again. It's actually the appropriate climate outside that I don't have to have my fan blowing in the background. So it's really weirdly quiet outside. You all didn't notice because of my mic filter, but let me tell you, I could barely hear myself think. Anyway, when last we left our intrepid Torus, we were reading through a novel, this kinetic section on the side here. If we wanted to, we could of course go back and continue that, but I don't know, somehow it feels cheap just doing a stream that consists of a reading for a linear novel, where most of the voiced lines are already voiced. Well, we are gonna have to get through it eventually either way, so we can find out who the killer is among us. The other thing we could be doing is going back through the main area with all the branching paths and seeing... Sorry, we're doing another visual novel? You can probably tell, yes. The other thing we could do is sit down and start... I was a bit distracted. I'm just thinking if I want to go back to this linear section off to the side we were doing when we left off last time, or jump in to the main section and start looking for alt endings. Kinda have to do both eventually. I'm just thinking if it would be more interesting to focus on where we left off last time and go all the way through to the end there, or if we should make sure this stream features at least some interactivity on my end rather than just reading. And getting our arms broken. It's up to you, but maybe we can start with the main section and then transition to a novel when we're done looking. Okay, that certainly sounds like a plan. At last time. If you want to make absolutely certain we grab something new, there's a branch over here we didn't take last time. One over here as well, but I'm not sure what even splits off. Suppose we might as well check here, get the dialogue out of the way either way. I peeled off my now useless goggles and began brushing the snow from my jacket. Yep, yep, that's still Mari. Just like last time. Good day, have a good stream and game. Hello, An, thank you for showing up as well. It's always a pleasure to see you. Wow, that was so uncalled for. I am wounded. Mari took off her goggles and flashed me a grin. And that smile. I hadn't seen those pearly whites for a few hours now, but they were like the sun peeking out from behind the clouds. I couldn't help staring at her for a while. Mari's long black hair contrasted beautifully against her pure white ski suit. I distinctly remember this being the exact same dialogue as the other option. But they're not letting me skip, so it's technically unread. Doctor, are you a completionist? Not with most games, no. I never did the genocide, but when I played Undertale, I've never 100%ed Artanelico, nothing like that. But if it's something like this where we just gotta go through and select all the dialogue options, especially for a game that's fairly obscure in the West, I think I feel like I almost have an obligation. And it's so nice here. I respectfully disagree on, but thank you for saying so. She'd been the center of everyone's attention as she glided down even the toughest of slopes with practiced ease. I was sure they must have been dying to know if there was a beautiful face hiding beneath those ski goggles of hers. I mean, it was just the sort of thing you did at a ski resort. If that were true, I thought. If that were true, then I doubted anyone was left disappointed by the big reveal. I had practically grown up in Snow Country, so even though I'd been discouraged earlier by how much better she was at this stuff than me, I now felt only pride. Now that I know what her face looks, this is the same dialogue. There's more than a touch of exhaustion in my voice. Mara gave me her best smile and clasped her hands out in front of her, begging me. I had a hard time resisting that smile of hers. Oh, they picked it automatically this time. I reluctantly agreed. I guess getting insulted for needing to lose weight made Toto a bit more susceptible. Guess I'd improved since morning. I made it to the bottom of the slope before sunset and with way fewer falls. Yes, this was a branch. I see. Interesting. We both piled into the four-wheel drive SUV we'd bought from Mari's local Kobayashi. Mari and I had met at college that April. But it was only this past fall, through a combination of bravery and sheer bullheadedness, that I was able to convince her to go on a few dates with me. I could never get a clear sense of how she felt about me, however, and I quickly started feeling like a one-sided relationship. I was surprised when she'd suddenly asked if I wanted to go on an overnight ski trip with her. Mari's uncle and his wife ran a ski lodge out in Shinshu. Yeah, it was kind of far from the slopes, however, and that bit of inconvenience meant there were never many guests, even during the hot season. So they'd offered us a great deal. I said yes, of course, this is all the same dialogue, but it's still not accepting skips. The Kobayashi's mountain lodge was named Spur, after the German word for ski tracks. It seemed a name specifically chosen to appeal to skiers. Spur was a charming little hideaway with log cabin styling and appealingly bright decor. It was a look that had been gaining popularity since it was featured in design magazines a while back. This is new, at least. Okay, so we have in fact branched. We are in uncharted territory, chat. I'm scared, hold me. Not long after we arrived, I realized Mr. Kobayashi had been fibbing when he told us business was slow. He'd only said that so we wouldn't feel uncomfortable at the deal he'd offered us. Naturally, or more like tragically, I got thumb in eye, ow. Chat I'm blind, help. Naturally, more like tragically, Mari and I were placed in separate rooms. We now went to those rooms to change, and met in the downstairs lounge by the entrance. There's some comfy looking sofas.
やあ、お二人さん。その様子やと、たっぷり滑ってきたみたいやな。
There was Kayama. No one likes Kayama. Seeing the exhaustion on my face, Kayama couldn't resist commenting. He was the president of a company out in Osaka. Apparently he and Kobayashi went way back. Kayama was a middle-aged man with an impressively bald head and his fair share of wrinkles. Before I could reply, Mari answered for us. I don't think even Kobayashi likes Kayama and they were buddies. Yeah, that's a fair point.
私はもう少し滑りたかったんですけどね。
Mari gave me a sideways glance. And they were buddies. Oh my god, they were buddies. I shrugged and didn't respond. Kayama's wife was sitting there next to him. She looked like she was probably in her 30s, but I couldn't hazard to guess at her exact age. Oh, that's really obnoxious. Anyway. Seems it's the ladies setting the bar these days. She had that right. I shifted my attention to a trio of girls who'd arrived earlier that day. They were your typical white-collar types.
やだかなったら
Girls had a tourism magazine spread out in front of them and were talking about something I couldn't quite hear. So, the way I'm given to understand as we go over all this stuff again, I'm given to understand that in the original SNES version of this game, this thing where you had to unlock all the branches after the fact was not a thing. You could in fact just go down any branch whenever you wanted. But between the fact that you didn't have the, the flowchart scene jump up mechanic like you do here, you can just go wherever the hell you want, and the bit where you can go around, and just the general fact that any branch can send you anywhere without any real cause or effect. They simplified things quite a bit for this remake. Though it does mean you have to. Do you think the original did it better minus the flowchart stuff? I would not want to play this without a flowchart. I think that is a make or break thing. I have the same opinion about the original Zero Escape version versus its remake. And 999. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. But I will say that not being able to skip all of this repetitive expository dialogue they left in because in the original they didn't know this wouldn't be your first playthrough is mildly obnoxious. Like, not a super huge deal. But, having to sit through all this again is less than interesting. Just then, I noticed a PlayStation sitting in the corner of the room. How bizarre. I feel like every game nowadays has a flowchart, even Otome games do lately. I mean, why would you not include a flowchart? I mean, honestly. Like, what, you think it makes the game better, forcing you to play through the same section over and over again just to manually scroll back to all the decision points? No. No, that's boring. You shouldn't have to. If you can narratively justify it, that's great, but if you can't, then too bad. I'm playing a video game either way. Anyway, Hey chat, you wanna do some gaming? Forgot all about Mario and rushed to get game on. Tough times, hard crimes. We didn't do it
何よ
together.
トールもう
Leave him alone, he's gaming. Mario sounded exasperated, but she still had a smile on her face.
最初からあったっけ？変だな。まあいいか。ソフトは音切りそうにかまいたちの夜。どっちも面白そうだな。どっちやってみようかな。
I once played a game that had 12 routes, no flowchart, or skip to next choice button. It was very painful. Yeah, that's what I remember. I mentioned 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors earlier. I did play the original 999 for the DS Fat when it first came out. And chat, I love that game, but it quite desperately needed a flowchart. So many just branching paths with long stretches and multiple choices between the splits. Good Lord Almighty. Thank God for remakes. Anyway, you want some Night of the Kamaitachi? That sounds like a weird game. Night of the Kamaitachi. What kind of game is that? Kamaitachi. Kamaitachi is Japanese for sickle weasel. I think that's a yokai, but they're kind of obscure. You don't really see much about them. I remember there was a case in Detective Conan that was about, you know, Kamaitachi in a snowy ski lodge out in Nagano, but they didn't really mention much about the Kamaitachi itself in that case. The Giriso I have heard of, that was a game by Chunsoft. It's a really influential, like, SNES adventure game. Tons of different branching paths that would completely change the nature of the game you were playing. It got a movie adaptation, that's actually how big it was. Got a live-action movie adaptation. And got a Danganronpa-themed spin-off after the merger. That was incredibly strange. I mulled it over as I looked at the game cases. Alright, chat, what are you thinking? Do you wanna find out more about this Night of the Kamaitachi game? Or do you wanna fire up some St. John's Wort? That's what Otogiriso means. Otogiriso sounds more fun. Yeah, who'd wanna play a game like Kamaitachi no Yoru anyway? Sounds like complete nonsense.
よし、音切りそうにしよう。
I took the disc out of its case, put it in the PlayStation, then started it up.
なんだか怖そうね。
Anyway, hello and welcome to my Otogiriso Let's Play. Oh, he was peeking at the game over my shoulder. What would Toru and Mari's YouTube channel be called? Or their Twitch stream channel? Sorry, I'm kind of showing my age. I've been into, like, Let's Play since before Twitch was a thing. Like, literally before the website itself was founded. That's... if you'll allow me to date myself a little. Mari mashed the power button.
おいおい、何すんだよ。まだ何も始まってないよ。
Alright, okay, something that combines both their names because they're lame like that. Tomari. Oh man, I remember I used to watch Gundam Wing on Tomari back when I was a little kid. Man, I loved that series. I also kept my Bebop on it too during that run. Man, I should not have been allowed to watch that series. I was a wee lad.
ごめん。お願いだから別のにして。
しょうがないな。
Yes, I have a choice.
かまいたちの
Let's
夜
go
にしよ
with
うか。
Night of the Kamaitachi
これ
instead.
も怖そうだけど。今度は切るなよ。怖かったら見なきゃいいんだからな。
Hi everybody, hello and welcome to Tamari's stream of Kamaitachi no Yoru. Stopped in the night of the Kamaitachi disc and fired up the PlayStation again. When I keep saying fired up makes it sound like the PlayStation is powered by like an old coal-burning furnace. And but it was just shoveling coal into the system to make it run. It'd be terrible for the environment. Why would you do that?
名前入力だって。どうしよ
私たちの名前入れちゃえばいいじゃないの。
Yes, incidentally, that's another little detail. Most versions of Kamaitachi Yoru did not feature voice acting, as I said. And correspondingly, they did let you input Toru and Mari's own unique names.
う。そうだな。トール、マリット。
But this game has full voice acting, so they decided not to go to the trouble. Like the Final Fantasy remake problem. Looks like an owl. You could name them? You could name them. We finished inputting our names and continue. Screen changed to a photo of a ski slope. After getting the hang of snowplowing, I finally made it to the bottom of the slope and stopped for a much-needed breather. Mari, meanwhile, whooshed effortlessly to a stop in front of me, her fancy footwork kicking up a tidal wave of white powder. Well, we can just do the usual. If you don't use their names, they can awkwardly call each other Kimi or some random nickname. I mean, yeah, sure, hypothetically speaking, they could have, but they didn't. That's the world we live in, so what's the point of asking what if? My goggles were now covered with snow. I couldn't see a damn thing. Haha, you look like a snowman! Chat, do you see what they're doing? Do you see what they're doing? What a shame I'll never document what I would have named them. I would have just gone with Toru or Mari anyway. I would have just left. Whenever a game like has a default or official name, I will just go with that. Generally, names always stop being funny well before you actually finish the game, in my experience. And the usage of Toru and Mari as their official names does vastly predate the release of this specific remake. I believe there was like an audio adaptation of the game that used Toru and Mari. And there might have been like, no, I don't think there was anything else, but that did sort of spin forward. Mari's laughter rang out through the wintry air. I peeled off my now useless goggles and began brushing the snow off my jacket. I'm exhausted. Let's just call it a game. Was there an audio drama of this game? Yep, that's what I said! There was an audio drama adaptation of the original Kamaitaichi no Yoru. And I believe there was like a fan-made... Like not... No, it wasn't like a live-action adaptation. I think there was a fan-made, like, fan sequel, or I guess fan spin-off, because there was an official sequel. There were a decent few official games, actually, after this. But yes, there's definitely an official audio drama, I know that much. You're such a wimp. Ah, fine. Let's go back.
なんだかこれ、私たちみたいね。
I suddenly spoke.
うん。そうだね。
It's got like a lot more text on screen at a time, though. And way less lower def character graphics. Dr. Midori's been playing too many long games. I'm curious about what game will enter the schedule next. I've got a few options we could do. I think what we actually wind up doing next is going to come down to whether I can get anyone to join up with us, because there's a few specific people I'd like to think, like, okay, if I play this game, it would be ideal if I could get Person X to come with, because they know a lot about this genre, or because they're the one who introduced me to this game in the first place, or because they're my friend and I just want an excuse to hang out with them, because I haven't done that lately. As I continued to play the game, a strange feeling began to creep over me. By the time we got back to the lodge, the sun had already set, and it was starting to snow. I imagine you all have picked up on this already, but just for the sake of making sure we're absolutely all on the same page, what they're doing here is the style that the original Kamaitachi no Yoru was in. The lower def text, obviously. The, what's this called in official visual novel parlance? Like, what is this? ADV versus... Oh, what am I looking for? NVL. There it is, NVL, ADV... Or, no, scratch that reverse, the ADV, NVL. ADV, here's a little quick lesson for all you VN fans in the audience. ADV is what the official technical term for I think most people today consider the standard visual novel style, with text boxes down at the bottom of the screen. And NVL is what we're looking at right now, with text just sort of scrolling up and filling the whole screen. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Spur Lodge, as it was called, was run by Kobayashi and his wife. It was a charming little hideaway that combined log cabin styling with appealingly bright decor. We went to our rooms to change, and met in the lounge by the entrance. I've mentioned a few times, this is what the original game looked like. We didn't have character portraits, we just had these little silhouettes kind of walking around. There were some comfy looking sofas arranged around a large brown coffee table. We decided to relax there for a while and wait for dinner to begin. Oh wow, they've got a PlayStation. I have a nice dang look at the game. Hello, Walter. We're getting very meta. Wonder if somebody here is into video games. Wonder what I should play. Let's see, the games are Otogiri-so and Night of the Kamaitachi. I debated which one I should pick.
Oi, このゲーム一体どうなってんのかな?
It was starting to creep me out. If the name of the ski lodge we were staying at was the same, how could that be possible? A. I decided to play Otogiri-so. B. I decided to play Night of the Kamaitachi. Spellbound. I chose B. After getting the hang of snowplowing, I finally made it to the bottom of the slope and stopped for a much-needed breather. Mari, meanwhile, whooshed effortlessly to a stop in front of me, her fancy footwork kicking up a tidal wave of white powder. My goggles were now covered with snow. I couldn't see a damn thing. You look like a snowman. You know, I think this sort of meta moment is actually one of the series' hallmarks. You know, Kamaitachi no Yoru 2 got very famous for leaning extremely hard on the meta aspects. Before you ask, no, I'm not going to be streaming it because there isn't an English version. But in Kamaitachi no Yoru 2, the initial plot point, the starting incident, is that Toru and Mari go to visit Abiko Takemaru, the author of Kamaitachi no Yoru, to question him about how he learned about Kamaitachi no Yoru, the events of Kamaitachi no Yoru, to make a game out of them. But then he winds up getting murdered, and they have to solve the murder of the creator of their game. And also that game is very famous among, like, certain types of people, because it had an extremely rare, like Undertale WD Gaster rare side, like, little side secret event where you would encounter a very rare, just totally at random, there's nothing you can do to force this, just encounter a random branch where you would get a message from a game dev who'd gotten trapped within their game and was now cursed to be trapped within the world of their own creation forever, and presumably was cursed to constantly be surrounded by hyper-realistic blood or something like that. It's pretty spooky. Yeah, kinda does. As I continued to play the game, a strange feeling began to creep over me.
おい、なんだよこれ。さっきの僕たちの会話じゃないか。
My hands were shaking as they gripped the controller.
ねえ、気持ち悪いからもうやめよう。
I turned to me.
だって途中でやめたらもっと気持ち悪いじゃないか。最後までやってやる。
That's a bit weird, isn't it? By the time we got back to the lodge, the sun had set, and it was starting to snow. Spur Lodge, as it was called, was run by Kobayashi and his wife. It was a charming little hideout. This is the same. Decided to relax there for a while, wait for dinner. Oh wow, they've got a PlayStation! Heh. I wonder if somebody here is into video games. I don't know which of you is talking. Wonder what I should play. Let's see, the games are Otogiri So and Night of the Kamaitachi. I debated which one I should pick. Hey, what's game? Starting to creep me out. If the name of the ski lodge we were staying at was the same, how could that be possible? I stared in fascination as the me in the game made the decision for me. After getting a hang of snowplowing, I made it to the bottom of the slope and stopped for a much-needed breather. Mori, meanwhile. Okay, show of hands. Who call it now? How many loops deep are we gonna go before they break this? Do I hear 8? Do I hear 10? How many times is Kyon gonna have to answer the phone? Though he's finally able to convince Haruhi to do her goddamn summer homework. 5, okay, I hear 5. I hear 1 vote for 5. Do I hear 6? Do I hear 6? Coming, going, what's going once. Do I hear 6? This kind of reminds me of us. Mari suddenly spoke. Yeah, kinda does. As I continued to play the game, a strange feeling began to creep over me. Whoa. What the hell? Isn't that what we just said? My hands were shaking as they gripped the controller. Hey, this is starting to get weird. Can we stop now? I'm really for you, Mitsu. Hello, Nia. We're playing Kamaitachi no Yoru, as you can probably see. But if we stop halfway through, wouldn't it feel even weirder? It's 5:34 a.m. It's a terrible time to be awake. I'd sort of come to expect it at this point. The me and Mari in the game were having the same conversation we'd just had in reality. It was as if some developer were eavesdropping on us and immediately coding what we said into the game. You know, Nia, I grew up, like, way out in the middle of nowhere. So, like, I mean, I had to get up around that time every day anyway, just to make it in time for our freaking 2-hour commute to school. It was miserable. I do not envy you right now. A game within a game, and a game within that, a game within that. But we somehow wandered into a hall of mirrors that stretched endlessly ahead of us. As before, the game within the game within the game that I was playing continued. And they're right next to a highway. That's probably enough fun. I don't have much neighbors. Yeah, like, I have the exact opposite problem. I didn't grow up on the highway. I grew up, like, well, all the way out in the middle of nowhere. But, like, we didn't even grow up in, like, a neighborhood. We didn't have any neighbors. Just had a single street. Out in the forest. In the heart of darkness. I went to our rooms to change, then met in the lounge by the entrance.
きっとここにプレイステーションがあるんだぜ。
Is it me who just said that, Mari? Or was it the me in the game? Me too, do you want bunk? I'd be happy if you didn't. Oh wow, they've got a PlayStation. Heh. I wonder if someone here is into video games. What I should play. Let's see, the games are Otogiri So and Night of the Kamaitachi. Debated which one I pick. Hey! What's with this game? It's starting to creep me out. Even the name of the ski lodge we were staying at was the same. How can that be possible? I stared at the me in the game with a deepening sense of despair. Quack, I wonder if there's a game called Otogiri So. Otome, I went over this already. There absolutely is. It got a live-action movie and everything. Getting the hang of snowplowing, I finally made it to the... The devs really hated it. I think the devs are the same person. Or the same persons, rather. I mean, Pretty Tropical Takamado didn't work on it, but it was definitely the same company. It was, made by Chunsoft. The Toru and Mari in the game return to the lodge as usual. Is there a remake of Otogiri I can play? I don't believe there is. Otogiri So isn't a game like this. It's not a murder mystery game. It's more in the lines of a general creepy haunted house game. I remember it got back in the sort of general populace viewpoint a few years ago because... So I mentioned this and Otogiri So were both developed by Chunsoft. Mystery game fans probably know that name already, because Spike Chunsoft are the guys who make Danganronpa. That is, of course, Spike and Chunsoft after their merger. So, around the time Danganronpa... I want to say it was post-Danganronpa 2, but honestly I could be completely wrong. Made a sort of parody of Otogiri So called Kirigiri So, because, you know, Kirigiri is a character from Danganronpa, you see, you get it, it's a pun, or play on words. If you look around, I think on Tumblr you can find so many of these started translation of Kirigiri So. Should at least give you a vibe of what should be going on. Over there. I might not be able to dodge rain, but I can at least dodge snow. They changed their clothes. Came down to the lounge, found a PlayStation. Also as usual. Next, the me in the game would probably find the Night of the Kamaitachi disc and start playing it.
ねえ、ゲームなんかより話でもしましょうよ。
Mari asked me this out of the blue. I immediately nodded. After all, we hadn't come all this way to play video games. Yeah, imagine just sitting around playing video games. That's like super cringe, bro.
そうだね。
I gave an involuntary grunt of surprise. Some other guests had gathered in the lounge as well. A fat, balding man, a woman who seemed to be his wife, and 3 girls who looked like white-collar types.
あ、じゃあかまいや。大阪でちっこい会社やっとるんや。
I was taken aback by the fat man's introduction.
え？おじさんかまいって言うんですか？驚いたな。僕もかまいって言うんですよ。字が違いますけどね。かまいって言います。かいとおるです。
なんやて？君もかまいが。珍しいこともあるもんやな。ほら奇遇や。ああ、こっちおいで。一緒に酒でも飲むか。
Okay, he's Kamai, you're Kamai, I'm Kamai. Are there any other Kamais I should know about?
おい、小林くん、ビール、いや、ウイスキー持ってきてくれへんか。
Okay, yep, that's... That sure is exactly what happened. Like I said, this was a parody. In the shared dreamscape set extra scenario chapter, Kyoka is depicted as a twin sister of Kyoko who has become addicted to day trading virtual currency over the internet. Man, I can't believe Kyoko's identical twin sister is an NFT, bro. Truly the family has fallen far. A young woman and a mysterious man in sunglasses joined our group. Before long, the night had turned into one giant party.
実は私もかまいで。
God damn it, there are I'm supposed to keep all these... Okay, so, can't believe I need to say this out loud, but if any of you wind up getting stabbed to death, don't use your last breaths to write Kamai as the killer's name in your own blood. Because that won't help us. Freaking phony.
ノルウェーから来ました。の夜カマイです。
How come Japanese actors playing foreigners always do that one specific accent? It doesn't sound like any accent that's actually real. We drank, and drank some more. Then, for some reason I can't even remember, all of us Kamais started doing Untitled together, right there in the lounge, all night long. Let me tell you, a night of Kamaitachi is a beautiful thing. Model isn't rigged properly, so you all can't see it, but I have legitimately developed an ocular twitch. I'm not gonna let you all stop looking at this. I am suffering, and that means you need to suffer too. I just realized I forgot to refill my drink before we started. And also on an unrelated note, I think I need to go step outside and scream for a second. Can I convince you all to wait for 30 seconds? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. I am cool. I am not upset. I am calm and collected and properly hydrated.
なんだこのゲーム。バカにしてるのか？
I turned off the PlayStation in a huff.
ひどいなこりゃ。
I turned off the PlayStation.
どうなってんの？
I turned off the PlayStation. Dumbfounded, I watched as the Mii's in-game turned off their consoles, one after another. My own hand reached for the power button, almost as if someone were controlling me. I tried to resist, but I couldn't. There was a clicking sound, and the screen became a sea of static. I had the creeping sensation that someone was watching me, so I turned around. And then, the very last moment I saw it, out past the cathode ray tube, another me was reaching out his hand to turn off the power. Well, game as it happens, there is in fact something I deeply regret. Kamaitaichi, that genuinely made me sick to my stomach. Guess we might as well get this out of the way while we're here.
やっぱりかまいたちの夜だな。
いやよ。
I was being a bit selfish in her game picks.
怖かったらあっち行ってればいいじゃないか。
冷たい。いいもん、我慢するもん。
I inserted the disc, turned on the PlayStation. Yep, everything beyond that point is the same. Alright, there we have it. Let's branch up here as well. Don't know if this is going to take us in a different direction or not.
最後だ。
でも、
大丈夫。
Okay, last time we said we didn't want to look like a coward, and all that got us was trapped at the bottom of the snow maze. Stuck out in the, and you all were there, you all remember. That was a great stream, wasn't it? So interesting.
僕はやめとくよ。 マリだけ言ってもいいよ。どうせ僕の方がもたもたしてるだろうしさ。
そう？じゃあ悪いけど待っててね。
Shot me a grin, then pushed off towards the next lift station. As I watched her chair traveling higher up the mountain, I noticed the clouds growing ominous. The temperature kept plummeting as I stood there waiting, and my sweat-soaked underwear began to freeze to my skin. Man, that ain't good. They're gonna have to cut that shit off you with a buzzsaw. I really ought to get back soon, I thought. Just then, Maru came gliding down the slope in front of me.
早かったね。
That was crazy fast. She shrugged at my surprised reaction.
これくらいが普通よ。さあ帰りましょうか。
Never felt like a waste of time. I mean, yeah. I've piloted the four-wheel drive SUV we'd bought from Mari's uncle, Mr. Kobayashi. And this reunites us back to the main path. Okay. Well, we're 5 minutes short of an hour into this stream, and the entirety of time and space lies behind us. Do we want to jump back in and get at least something out of a novel so we know that there is, in fact, further, like, actual serious game ahead of us? I mean, not that I'm opposed to nonsense, but I like the thought of putting things off. I'm supposed to be putting things off either way. It's like in Captain Tsubasa, where like you always see the soccer balls like ripping through the back of the net. Went all the way through 2 nets that time. So 2 goals and a single kick. That is absolutely the sort of complete nonsense-ola you would expect to get out of... What am I trying to say? An anime like that? Anyway, if nobody has any opinions, I think I will jump back on the novel just to make sure nobody forgets. Like, just totally everything that happened because we went an entire week without looking at it at all. This is another serious mystery chapter, so I think that would in fact be bad. If you look on the sides, down around here, you can see which route a given point is on. Like up here at the top, you have all the prologues. But over here, after the first murder takes place, we have the mystery route, where you solve the mystery. Here we have the snow maze route, where you're trapped in a snow maze forever. Here we have the night of the Kamaitachi routes. The night of the Kamaitaichi. And over here we have a novel, which is where we're going back in. Everybody fire up your brain stems. Because a man is dead. We return to the lounge with mixed emotions. Even if none of us said a word, it'd be obvious that we hadn't found the killer anywhere. Killer Amogus. I know 2 reviews since it has been 5 days since the last time we went in. In this timeline, we found Tanaka dead in his room. But it was after an entire night had passed rather than while we were drinking on the first day. His body was found intact, covered in cuts. And there wasn't any sort of alibi of the window breaking. And most importantly, Mikimoto appears for all the evidence to not exist in this timeline. Should logically mean that the culprit is, in fact, somebody else. She saw my face, Mari glanced down at the floor.
やっぱりこの中に犯人がいるのね。
That's right. The killer is someone in this room. Unless there's someone who's not in this room. I didn't actually check before I started talking. A silence filled the room, even heavier than before. I can swear I've seen the cover of that book somewhere before, but I can't remember where. It's probably some, super classic influential mystery novel that someone was a big fan of, though given that this is real photographic backgrounds of a real ski lodge, it could just be a coincidence. The slim hope we'd all been clinging to had now been shattered.
もう我慢できない。
Kaneko suddenly stood up and started screaming. Conveniently right when the doctor would always say that the killer was in this, the telephone with the silly face was standing in the background. Sus. If I had a nickel for every game I was familiar with where a telephone turned out to be an evil murderer, I would have 2 nickels. Which is not a lot, but it's strange that it happened twice.
誰なの？誰が殺したの？誰でもいい。誰でもいいけど、私たちを巻き添えにしないで。お願いだから。
Kaneko, please stop yelling at me. I'm trying to focus on the case here. She broke down into tears at that point. I couldn't make out anything else she said. Kobayashi, who'd been watching her outburst, spoke up.
とにかく今日一日私たちは助けを求めることもできないし、ここから出ていくわけにもいかない。人殺しと一緒にね。
Kaneko's sobs grew louder.
もうすでに一人殺しているやつだ。自分が逃げるためとなれば、またもう一人殺すことだって厭わないだろう。だから、私たちは常に一緒にいる必要がある。常にこうしている限り、犯人には手が出せないはずだ。
As long as we do that, there's no way the killer can get to us, which means absolutely nobody's going to agree to it.
トイレなんかはどうしたらいいんです？
What about going to the bathroom, Keiko? Keiko looked up from patting Kaneko's back as she said this.
そこのトイレならすぐ近くだから別に問題ないだろう。部屋にどうしても用事があるというなら3人くらいで行くようにすればいい。
Everybody stay with your designated murder buddies. And the connection's really gone to shit today, what the hell?
そうだ。そういえば電話線は
So about that phone line, don't you think it looks a bit suspicious? Or at the very least a bit like a Polgar's face. I remembered what we'd been talking about earlier.
そうだ。早速調べてみよう。
Kobayashi went over to the front desk and picked up the telephone receiver, as if to confirm it still wasn't working. Look at him, he's going like, oh, snap! Like somebody just got reported to the principal's office over the murder. After that, he traced the phone cord back to the wall to make sure it was plugged in properly.
まあ、そうだろうな。公衆電話の方も普通なんだし、外に出なきゃならんようだ。
So I guess we're going outside. Oh, but I hate the outside. That's where all the sun is. I burn easily. Kayama proved reluctant to join us, so it would just be Toshio and myself venturing out with Kobayashi. I quickly grabbed coats from our rooms and put them on, along with warm winter gloves. Once the three of us had our shoes on, we opened the inner front doors and stepped inside the small vestibule there. After making sure the inner doors were firmly closed, Kobayashi opened the outer doors. It's like we're going out on a spacewalk, going through an airlock or something. Instantly, razor-sharp wind and countless snowflakes assaulted us. I shielded my face with my arms. Toshio and I had little choice. We kept moving forward. Past the doors was a wooden porch about 3 feet off the ground. Even though there was a roof overhead, our feet were still buried in snow. I was just wearing regular shoes so I could feel my feet slipping and sliding with every step. Don't you just hate ice physics levels? To my surprise, I could no longer see Kobayashi, who had walked down the porch steps just ahead of us.
Kobayashi-san! Doko desu ka?
Kobayashi doko? I felt like my words were getting drowned out by the roaring wind. I shouted once more.
Kobayashi-san! Doko desu ka? Kochi da.
Toshio was standing to my left. He went down the stairs first, and I followed. Suddenly, the wind changed direction. I tumbled down the steps as if someone had pushed me from behind. I plunged headfirst into deep snow. Ah, Riptoru. Oh, hey, you actually changed clothes. I thought maybe they didn't have a budget. Toshio quickly called over to me. Just then, I had a horrible thought. What if Toshio was the killer? Man, you just can't avoid suspicion, can you, Toshio? I imagined him pulling a bloody straight razor from his jacket pocket. I scrambled across the snow, standing up only after I'd put some distance between the two of us.
Oi! Doushita?
That was Kobayashi. Even as Toshio gave me a puzzled look, I ran towards the innkeeper's voice. For a moment I was blinded by the fierce wind and snow. Couldn't even see spur log of the building I'd just exited. Still, I kept moving. The warmth I'd enjoyed only minutes earlier felt like a cruel fiction. My teeth were chattering. I shivered and hunched inside my coat. Cold. So cold. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, bad circulation. Felt like the wind was going to rip my ears right off. Suddenly, a snow-covered wall appeared in front of me and I barely avoided colliding with it. Kobayashi was crouched down next to that wall. A moment later, Toshio appeared from behind me and put his hand on my shoulder. I nearly jumped out of my skin. You probably shouldn't do that, you still need your skin. It protects you from airborne pathogens.
Hora, kore o mite goran.
Kobayashi gestured to a metal box attached to the side of the building. The cables extending from that box had all been severed.
やっぱり誰かが電話線を切ってたんですね。
And it was around the back of the building, so it would have been really easy for Mikimoto to have cut the wires after he went out Tanaka's room's window the first time. In the prime timeline, I see how it is. Toshio growled it.
それだけじゃない。もっとよく見てごらん。
I think Mikimoto said his. I was talking about last timeline when we went through. Mikimoto doesn't exist in this timeline. Unless he's the one whose body is in the room. And Tanaka, whoever he was, is still in his bags. Wouldn't that be a shock from these people's perspective? Just going around investigating a pretty normal-looking knife murder. You open up the victim's bags to investigate his background, and all of a sudden, you see the only thing he's carrying is corpse parts. You think they're gonna start smelling bad after a while? I don't have a broken window this time. So they shouldn't be freezing. Toshio and I leaned in for a better look. There were reddish-brown stains on the cross-section of one of the cables. Blood. Tanaka's blood. It was no longer just the cold that was making us shiver.
直せないんですか?
Does blood conduct electricity all that well? I've never seen a case of anyone being electrocuted through blood. And I can't prove it's impossible.
やったことはないが、応急処置ならできると思う。道具を取ってこなきゃならんが。
I mean, if you just get some conductive tape and use it to, like, tape the cuts back together, that should be fine, shouldn't it? We hurried back inside and explained the situation to the group. Thankfully, Kyoko and Midori had hot cocoa waiting for us. Noticing how much I was still shivering, Mari began to tease me.
5分くらいで大げさね。
She laughed. Yeah, how dare you be freaked out about almost freezing to death? You weenie.
冗談じゃないよ。出てみればわかるって。こんな格好であれ以上外にいたら凍えちまう。スキーウェアを着てカイロでも5、6個入れなくちゃ。
Imagine not having hand warmers. Toshio nodded. If he was agreeing with me, it must be one hell of a snowstorm. After all, he worked there, so he was probably much more used to the cold than me. After finishing his hot cocoa, Kobayashi stood and grabbed his toolbox.
一人で行くよ。寒いからね。その代わり、私が外に出ている間、誰もここを出ないでもらいたい。皆さん、いいですね。
Electrocution destroys blood anyway, so that probably can't happen. I mean, yeah, but if the blood is destroyed, then probably won't interfere with conduction anyway. What I'm getting at is that, like, the blood should not interfere with the repairs any. Which means the culprit's probably gonna have to deal with Kobayashi the old-fashioned way. Did you hear that little ping-pong noise? That was a flag getting triggered. Raise your flag. No one objected. I couldn't bear the thought of going out into that storm again and standing there while the repairs were completed. Toshio seemed to feel the same way. He showed no signs of getting up from his seat. Just as Kobayashi was heading out again, the cuckoo clock began to chime. Noon. It's high noon. I glanced at my watch and saw that it read 11:55 a.m. With a sudden uneasiness. I didn't know why. I remember there was a lot of attention paid to various different clocks last stream. Like, not just our watch and the cuckoo clock, but also Kayama's watch was also wrong in some way. What was it? What was this turmoil inside me?
食事の用意をすっかり忘れてたけど、どうしたらいいんでしょう。
I don't know. Instant ramen, fried rice. I doubt anyone here really has an appetite anyway. Kyoko said this to nobody in particular. No one answered, so it fell to me.
ご主人が戻るまで待った方がいいと思います。それに、みんなそんなに食欲もないんじゃないですか。
So you should probably keep your strength up just in case the culprit does decide to pull out a straight razor. Kyoko didn't respond, so I guessed she was okay with that. Time passed slowly. What if the truth is that Toto's wristwatch isn't behind and actually someone added 5 minutes to the cuckoo's time so it will make a sound? I'm sitting here and waiting until we find... I think somebody managing to tamper with Toto's wristwatch is pretty unlikely, seeing as how he's been wearing it non-stop since he got here. But either way, I'm gonna refrain from saying anything about what the watches mean until something involving time actually comes up. Because 5 minutes is not a lot of time for the culprit to act regardless of which direction the error is in. Time passed slowly. It felt like someone had cast a magic spell to slow the clock to a crawl. Kyoko paced back and forth anxiously between the lounge and front door. From time to time I glanced out the window. But Kobayashi must have been in a blind spot because I couldn't see him. A heavy silence reigned in the room. While we all hoped the phone lines might be restored, we knew that wouldn't solve our immediate problem. As Kayama had said, even if we got through to the police, they wouldn't be able to come anytime soon. If you're relying on the police for a mysterious murder, you fool. You absolute buffoon. You clown. You are not a clown, you are the entire circus. Five minutes passed, then 10, and after that came 11, then 12. That's how time works, children. But if Kobayashi was the killer, the thought astonished me. If Kobayashi was the culprit, he could have taken this chance to hop in his car and escape somewhere. So it is 12:10. I think that's the implication, though God knows how long this monologue is going to last. The other vehicles would be unable to move, of course. No, that wasn't possible, I told myself. It was Kobayashi who discovered that the phone lines had been cut in the first place. And he'd consistently taken the lead as we searched the lodge. By the same token, if there was some incriminating evidence, he would have had the opportunity to hide it. I heard the sound of wind blowing inside the lodge, and I knew Kobayashi had returned.
あなた、大丈夫？
Kyoko cried out as he ran over to him. Snow covering his head and shoulders. He was shivering, his skin was an icy white. It's pretty obvious that isn't Kobayashi. Honestly, I'm surprised he survived this long. I regretted having doubted him for even a moment.
なんとかなったと思う。電話してみてくれ。
Kyoko nodded and picked up the phone at the front desk.
通じてるみたいよ。音がするわ。
Can you hear that noise? You're right, phone. That is pretty poggers.
警察に電話するんだ。
Kyoko was eventually able to get through. She haltingly tried explaining the situation to the police.
貸しなさい。
Oh, give it here. Give it here, dumbass, I'll explain. Kobayashi took the receiver from his wife, told the police someone had been killed, then gave them the address and number of the lodge. Then hung up the phone.
すぐ来てもらえるんですか？
That can't possibly be that easy.
いや、今すぐというわけにはいかないようだ。でも、この吹雪が収まり次第、来てくれると言ってた。
So, in several days. Great. Good going. Somebody's stomach rumbled. I wondered if relief had awakened everyone's appetites. When you were isolated from the world like this, even getting someone on the phone was a big comfort. It was as if a little bit of oxygen had been pumped into the stagnant air of the room. Thanks to this, the half-formed thoughts that had been floating through my head finally began to coalesce. He stood up and began to speak. What a terrifying concept. Alright, show of hands. Who thinks he's gonna get it right and who thinks he's gonna get it wrong? I imagine he's probably gonna get it right. I mean, not sure where we're going with this, though.
ちょっと聞いてください。
Stay a while and listen. Everyone stared at me. Feeling unsure, I glanced at Mari. She was looking up at me with a strange expression on her face.
どうしたの突然。
大事なことなんだ。大事なことなんだよ。小林さん、いくつか確認したいことがあるんですが。
Okay, looking at the evidence we have so far, the culprit killed Tanaka in Tanaka's room, probably sometime in the middle of the night. Then afterwards, went outside and cut the phone lines. That speaks to less premeditation than last case, and also, more importantly... What does that mean? It means the culprit went outside sometime, out in the snow. Considering how late we found the body, we're probably expected to think that the culprit committed the murder in the middle of the night. That would make more sense, what Otome just said. Is the phone inaccurate because the power went out? Cuckoo clocks are generally pretty mechanical analog devices. They wouldn't have automatic fixes to them.
テレビとビデオのことなんですが、あれはどことどこに設置してあるんですか?
And the VCR's off flashing 0 is also a thing that happens when power goes out. Figured that just went without saying. So, power outage lasted exactly 5 minutes. Depending on the approach we take, that could disqualify. Hold on, I want to show off. I want to show off my brain size a bit. Hold on, let me go back and check that scene the old-fashioned way. Is this the scene?
私はこのおじさん嫌な話。あら、そう、この
Not to be confused with Kamaitaichi, we've made that mistake once
それを
already.
救済喉がでも
Hey, the candle's flames were blown out here. His brain powers at work. I'm not a detective, but I've been around this block more than once, let me tell you. I have my pride. I have a reputation to maintain. Alright. That was 3 voices. I'm fairly certain that was 3 voices, so all 3 girls were here at this moment. I stood up and started shouting in a panic. Someone closed the window, then the candles were quickly relit. Kobayashi spoke.
落ち着いてきちんと閉まってなかっただけです。偶然とはいえみんなを怖がらせる役には立ったようだね、マリちゃん。
Okay, I'm pretty sure Tomei's right about Kobayashi not being a suspect.
あら、偶然じゃないのよ。さらに
There's a flicker and the room was filled with bright light. It didn't really help us any. Basically nobody spoke during that section.
違うって。
では
So I went on while
自
you
家
were all
発電とかできないん
while
で
you
す
were all
か？
under. Nothing really happened. Why did Mari make up a trick to open the window and blow the candles out? It's almost like she knew the lights would go out or knew they would light up candles. What other reason would you have to put strings on the window? I mean, she said it herself. She just wanted to do something appropriately atmospheric for a scary story. I don't think that's that suspicious. She would have had to put the strings during the dark. I mean, yeah, she went to the window during the dark. We all saw that. After they announced they were doing scary stories, everything checked out. Mari is the least suspicious person here because she was talking... Hold on. Right. Digital display of my watch showed 8:15 at the moment. Right. At least oh shit, I forgot to, My chat window is actually covering the bit of my OBS window where my model is, so I can't actually see myself right now. I'm just having to go by memory. And let's look over the window here. So the lights went out at 8:15. Everyone was there at the moment. You could vaguely see Kobayashi's silhouette moving throughout the room. Grabs a flashlight, takes Kyoko and leaves. The two of them were together, so this probably isn't the murder. The moment the murder was committed. 3 girls are there. One seemed to be getting stronger. Electric lines went down.
こんなことはめったにないことなんでね。そこまでの用意はないんですよ。
Maybe Dr. Panoa gets angry when solving mysteries because the detective's the one who should have been doing their job. Honestly, it's the other way around. I hate working with detectives because they're all so fucking smug and they just talk down to you the whole time. They're such show-offs. They never go about their investigations in an efficient manner because they gotta they gotta do big dramatic finales with tricks and traps. They never tell you what they're thinking before their big summation at the end. They're always gotta be like, no, I'll tell you the answer tomorrow. It's like, god damn it, man, I gotta prepare a case now, thank you very much.
暗くてよくわからないけど、雪がひどくなってるみたい。
See, this is the moment Mori goes over to the window,
申し訳あり
sets
ま
up
せ
the
んが、
string.
こうなったら早めにお休みいただいた方がいいかもしれませんね。
せっか
Midori
く
is
こんな
here.
雰囲気なんだから、怪談話なんかするのもいいんじゃないですか？
Mari is the one who offers to tell Midori, rather, is the one who offers to tell ghost stories. I guess it's not particularly unpredictable.
私そういうの全然ダメなの。
百物語ってやつか？
Toshio's down
いいね。
here.
やろうよ。
I think everyone is down here at this moment. The question is, how difficult would it have been to sneak away? While everyone was distracted. At this point, we're only being lit by flashlights. What if Midori made that suggestion just to keep everyone distracted? She didn't have a ghost story to tell. We don't know she didn't, but
ちょっと待ってくれ、トシオくん。部屋に
Nobody decided to go back to their room when he went around. Okay, if he went around and asked, I imagine everyone was still in the room at this moment.
これは実
Alright. This really happened to a friend. A friend.
つまら
あら、そう。
At this moment, everyone should have been completely
かまいたち
focused
で
on
怪我をしたって
Mari. If we're all using flashlights and we're all looking at Mari, this would have been the best time for everyone to sneak off. I know Kobayashi is one of the people who had a flashlight.
かまいたちにこの
So this would have been a good moment.
それと救済喉でも
Candles, flames. Oh, there were candles too, right? Yes. The Kamiya didn't make a peep throughout this entire scene, to BH. It's a point. And again, neither did
落ち着いて。
Toshio.
あら、偶然じゃないのよ。さっき立った時、窓のところに毛糸を輪にして結びつけておいたの。引っ張ると留め金が外れるようにね。
Toshio talked a bit earlier. Yeah, but that was before. Candle's flames were blown out in an instant, so the candles got relit pretty quickly. I'm pretty sure it's like physically impossible for anyone to have popped up and down that quickly.
さらに引くと輪が
And the lights went back on, and who was here at the moment? Is it gonna be
お茶でも入
okay?
れましょうね。
I feel like most of the people didn't speak during that entire window of time.
ラベン
Were the Kamas even here to begin with? They might have gone up to their rooms already.
いや、ただもう。階段。
若い人らだけ
Well,
の
if
方が
you
ええ
were
や
there
ろ。
the whole
わし
time.
らこれで失礼しますわ。
Imagine if we're analyzing this again just for it to be pointless because the killer killed Tanaka during the night like Dr. Midori said. That can't be the answer. It makes too much sense. Alright, so, well, Kayama was there. I grant what you're saying isn't impossible, Atome. Kayama's the other person whose watch we checked.
Oh.
おやすみな。
I'd like to get a look at that, too. And apparently went to bed immediately. "11:10 p.m." That's what it said on the...
通る
That's what it said on the VCR, which means it should only be 11:05.
まだ。
Hold on. Alright, Mario's at 8:40, the VCR was blinking 8:20, our watch is 5 minutes off. Which means, okay, interesting thing to do. So the blackout actually lasted 20 minutes. Okay, chat, keep up with me. The blackout listed 20 minutes. And our watch is 5 minutes off from the clocks, both before and after. What does that mean, though? What does that
わかった
mean?
から僕。
まだね。
Pretty sure Kayama's watch was off by the same amount as us.
今日は
Which, given how difficult it would be to tamper with two people's watches, I think does make him more suspicious, actually.
そう
Twitter checked the VCR at 11:10, it was actually 11:30. I think... we don't have an anchor point. What I want to know is, why does Mari... Hold on, I want to get back in. I want to find out...
ビデオのことなんですが。あれはどことどこに設置してあるんですか？
I think we're theorizing ahead of our data. Dodo wants to investigate more, and I think he's got the right idea. Kamaitachi seemed confused by an unexpected question, but he answered right away.
私たち夫婦の部屋と緑ちゃんの部屋にある。客間は渡瀬さんたち3人の部屋と君の部屋、それに殺された田中さんの部屋だ。
Alright, let's check all the VCRs and see if they all show the same time. That would tell us something, no
それだ
doubt.
けなんですね。他にはテレビもビデオもありませんね。
Minori has a room. Well, yeah, what? You want her to share a room with someone who's just not a friend or relative? That would be improper.
ないよ。
そのビデオですが、それらは全て同じ方ですか？
ああ、一括購入したからね。なあ、ビデオが一体どうしたって言うんだね。
I mean, there's a problem that you're using VCRs in the year of our Lord 2022, but aside from that... He ignored his question and continued on.
実質にビデオのある人で、昨べ誰かを部屋に入れたという人はいますか？
Everyone shook their heads.
どうも。では次に時計のことを伺います。実質にビデオのある人で、昨べ誰かを部屋に入れたという人はいますか？
Everyone shook their heads.
どうも。では次に時計のことを伺います。僕の部屋には時計がないんですけど、どの部屋もそうなんですか？
そうだよ。本当は時計なんか全部なくしてしまいたいんだけどね。そうもいかないから、ここにはあの通り鳩時計を置いてる。
Why would you want to get rid of all the clocks? You got something against clocks? I mean, I have something against clocks because they're so easy to tamper with, but you know,
レジャーというものはのんびり楽しむものであって。
Yes, well, we're not exactly relaxing now, are we?
わかりました。もう一度確認します。このペンションには、時計はあの鳩時計だけ。そうなんですね。
Without specifying one way or the other, thank you for the hydrate redeem, Otome. As I was saying, they aren't specifying one way or the other. But the implication I'm getting here is that the cuckoo clock is probably like a mechanical analog device, because it's, you know, a clock. And it's the traditional approach. Which would mean that the blackout knocked out the VCRs, but not clock. Which would mean that the clock has the right time unless it's been tampered with. Which would mean the blackout lasted 20 minutes. What I can't figure is what all this means. We did check Kama's watch.
そうだ。
ちょっと電話を貸してもらえませんか？すぐ済みますから。
別に構わないが、どこにかけるんだね？
Who are you gonna call? Without answering, I walked over to the phone and started dialing. 117. A woman's voice on the other end of the line began reading off the time. Currently, the time is 12 hours, 14 minutes, 10 seconds. Shouldn't Mari have noticed that too? Surely she woke up, checked the VCR, then noticed it is lunchtime. I thought he just said... Yeah, Mari doesn't have a VCR in her room, which means she probably got up, went outside, and checked the cuckoo clock. Alright, the real correct time is 12:14. Beep, 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 boom. My watch was right on time. That moment, all the pieces clicked into place in my mind. Assuming no one's changed since then, our watch is correct. The cuckoo clock is 5 minutes fast. Question of the hour is, what do you do with 5 minutes? I suppose 5 minutes is theoretically quickly enough to run upstairs, slit the guy's throat, and then add a few decorative cuts afterwards. Or not do that. Maybe even enough time to adjust your clothes afterwards if you're working under cover of darkness. A pretty good idea who the culprit was. The person who had killed Mr. Tanaka. They cut the phone lines, the murder weapon. Make something like have the cuckoo clock make a sound while you kill someone? Oof. If that was the issue, they could just wait, couldn't they? Just time your strike to occur at exactly midnight. Or... Now I just needed to make sure I was right. I fell silent for a moment, and turned to the other people around me. Okay, Hold on, now that we have a grounding point... Watch, VCR. There's the VCR. I have to BRB. I will probably spend the whole time you're gone just talking myself through this. Okay, the digital display rate 655. 655 is correct. 2 o'clock on the wall chimed 7 p.m. Almost 5 minutes fast. That's such a small... Kayama set his own watch to the cuckoo clock, so he should also have 5 minutes fast. Right, 8:15. It was 8:15 at the time. Where's the VCR? Simon Kobayashi, that's a ridiculous name. There's that event that happened. The clock chimed 9, so it was actually 8:55. Almost 11. VCR read 1:11:10. Right. Mari said 8:40. The VCR read 8:20. If Mari got the time off the cuckoo clock, then it should have actually been 8:35, which means the VCRs are 15 minutes slow. Which means... if the clock is 20 minutes, the clock... what is the clock? Was the clock affected by the blackout or not? If it was, then the fact that they're displaying different times is definitely suspicious no matter what. Don't understand it. I just don't understand it. I wish I were better at math. I don't know if 5 minutes would be, like, enough. 5 minutes might have been enough to adjust, like, your clothes after committing the murder. Is this the sort of building? This game was set in the 80s. Is this the sort of building where the water still runs during a blackout? Because we did see evidence that the culprit washed their hands. And there was still blood on their blade when they cut the wires. So that should also cast some I can't imagine them not wiping their blade after committing the murder, and the blood was still wet if it transferred, so that should have happened right at the same time. Murder the person who was alive and capable of struggling. Go out the window, or go outside through the door. Cut the wires, head back inside. Wash your hands, not necessarily in this order, I'm just naming things as they come to me. Just your clothes. If you had to go back, I think going outside is getting less and less likely. While committing the murder during. How quickly does his blood dry in cold temperatures? I mean, once it's outside the body, you gotta figure it freezes pretty quickly. Oh, I wonder. Alright, the clock is 5 minutes fast. The VCR is 15 minutes slow. Kayama set his watch by the clock. Oh, I gotta know.
皆さんの時計を見せてほしいんです。腕時計でも懐中時計でも構いません。時計を今持ってらっしゃる方だけで結構です。
Alright, let's all watch how this turns out. Oh, ho, ho. Yo, ho, ho. Now looked at each other dubiously, but no one refused to cooperate.
一体何をしようとしてるの？
Solving a murder, leave me alone. I put Mari's whispered question to rest, with a reassuring look. We know Kayama set his watch by the clock earlier, so if his watch is wrong, we should be fine. I came back. Otome, I spent the entire time you were gone just trying to talk myself through the question again, and then Toru asked to see everyone's watches. That should be interesting. So we saw, when I was looking back through the text record earlier, we saw Kayama set his watch by the clock. So that should be what his displays 5 minutes early, 5 minutes fast. Like, people who are in rooms with a VCR should be set to VCR time, which is 15 minutes slow. And God only knows what we'd expect from everyone else. Surprisingly, none of the three girls had watches on them.
携帯についているから部屋に置いてあるけど取ってきた方がいい？
それは結構です。
Mari had one, of course, but it was in the pocket of her ski jacket.
女の子って腕時計するの嫌いな人多いのよ。
Kobayashi, Midori, and Haruko didn't wear one either. In the end, it was only me, Kayama, and Toshio with watches.
トシオさんの時計は今何時ですか？正確にお願いします。
Toshio glanced down at his analog watch for a moment before answering.
12時20分。今30秒になった。
加山さんはいかがですか？
変やな。12時4分ちょうどやけど。
You know, the weird thing is that the couple would have to tamper with the VCR in everyone's rooms, right? Maybe they did it during the dark and didn't kill Tanaka there. I imagine the VCRs being wrong is probably a result of the blackout. Like, VCRs don't handle power outages well, that is no knowledge. Didn't reset them instead of... It didn't reset them. Instead it just delayed them a bit, but I guess that's not impossible depending on the model. Kayama tilted his head.
またおかしになりよったかな?
I gave an ambiguous shake of my head. Right, so Toshio's watch. Kayama set his watch by the clock, which is 5 minutes fast. So it's weird that Toshio's is so far ahead of his. VCR was slow.
妙ですね。正しい時間は12時15分です。僕は今117に電話して聞いたから間違いありません。
Kayama. Okay, it doesn't make sense for either of you to have made that mistake, so the clocks must have been tampered with after Kayama adjusted his. Tampering with the stranger's watch would be difficult, so I think we can trust that both of them are holding the correct time without, at least the time they would have shown without tampering. Which means the clock has... If Toshio set his watch afterwards, then the clock should have been set forward. About 15 minutes. Which would mean, what would that mean? Oh god, this sort of... Did someone get me some scratch paper? I need to write all this down. Toshio looked up at the cuckoo clock with a concerned look on his face.
そうなのか。しかしそれが一体何だと。
僕には犯人が分かったんです。あの田中と名乗っていた人を殺した犯人が。
Well, dear reader, who is the killer? You have all the clues. Please think it through before proceeding to the solution. Answer arc. Your lunchtime is at exactly 8:30, right? And everyone's clocks are matched up to have everyone go down at different times? That's a thought. When Tori was asking earlier, though, he specifically said, you all made sure everyone to a VCR, you all made sure that nobody went in, right? Nobody went into your rooms? Who was moving strangely? I think the answer doesn't involve... Question of the hour is, when would the clocks even matter? No reason the culprit couldn't have just gone up and slashed the guy's throat in the middle of the night while everyone was asleep. Must wonder... Right, the blackout was 15 minutes. I don't think it would break my disbelief to say that is enough time to go upstairs and kill the victim. But there was also wet blood on the cut wires, which means the culprit went outside afterwards. Most important, since Toda was about to accuse someone, who do you think is the culprit? And that's what I'm talking myself through right now. The culprit went outside immediately after committing the murder to cut the wires because there was wet blood on the cuts. I don't think 15 minutes is long enough to do that, even if we assume they, left as soon as the cut got made, like we think Kayama might have. No idea when the cause of death is. I don't see any moment when tampering with any clocks would have actually benefited the culprit any, since nobody's really under suspicion to begin with. Which is making me think that maybe the clocks weren't tampered with at all. Maybe the blackout did just throw our sense of time off. If we are going for a story of just... the culprit went up and slashed their throats under cover of darkness, and 15 minutes is enough time to do it, then I think that rules out Kayama, because he's, old and fat and can't really, move that quickly. Especially if we're assuming he went out the window to make the cuts. I think we could probably cast Kayama's wife, and Kobayashi's wife for the same reason. I think the most suspicious person would be Toshi, as we know he's fit and used to going out in the snow. But that logic doesn't seem to hold up. As well as I... Did we ever see Kayama go out in the snow? Not a single time in this timeline. Or I believe in the previous one either. He complained about his bones when we have fielded the possibility.
僕には犯人が分かったんです。あの田中と名乗っていた人を殺した犯人が。
No one said anything. Nor did anyone laugh. Pity everything joke usually kills parties. It was Mari who finally broke the silence.
それで
She had been. I don't see how this time conversation has anything to do with Tanaka at this point. Yeah, me neither, honestly. She had an unsure look in her eyes. Was she concerned that I'd placed the blame on the wrong person? Or worried that I'd accuse her? Well, that wasn't gonna happen. I took a moment to collect myself, and started asking questions again.
トシオさんは最後に時計を合わせたのはいつか覚えていますか？
最後に？いや、ちょっと記憶にないな。クォーツだからめったに狂うこともないし。
And yet you're 20 minutes... Yet you're 5 minutes slow right now. Has that clock just always been 5 minutes fast? Is Kobayashi the sort of person who deliberately sets his clock 5 minutes fast to make sure he's always keeping time? That wasn't a stretch, I just kind of adjusted my shoulders a bit and I got really sore for some reason. That makes sense. It was also wrong in the previous timeline in that one. Whatever trick is happening now didn't happen. I did redeem a stretch, thank you. Okay, this is what a stretch sounds like. You might not have heard all that because I just stood up away from the mic, but I cracked in several places. It was horrifying. And hydrate, thank you again.
では、そこの鳩時計は誰が合わせたんです？
俺だったと思う。シーズンが始まる前に電池を入れ替えて俺が合わせた。
自分の時計に合わせたわけですね。
ああ。じゃあその時から俺の時計は狂ってたと？
そうでしょうね。温度変化が激しいとクォーツも狂いますから。
Alright, there's that bit explained. I left it at that, then turned to Kayama.
さて加山さん。加山さんの時計はなかなか高そうですが、狂ったりはしないんでしょうね。
狂ったりはせえへんよ。ただ巻き忘れとると止まってしまいよるけどな。
今はちゃんと動いてますか？
ああ、動いとる。
最後に合わせたのはいつですか
Kyle bit his lip as he thought it over. Then something suddenly seemed to dawn on him.
思い出したみたいですね。
He glanced uneasily around the room and began to fidget. Everyone turned to look at Kayama and me, bewildered.
さて、これまでに分かったことを整理してみると、こういうことになります。シュプールの鳩時計は、トシオさんが合わせたもので、正確な時刻より5分進んでいた。
This much as far as what I've put together already. He really won't tell us when he set his watch, huh? He just remembered that he did it in front of us earlier. I've mentioned this already.
当然敏夫さんの腕時計も5分進んでいたわけです。
That checks out. Toshio isn't really suspicious in that case.
一方、時計以外に時間を知る方法というと、テレビやラジオ、電話の時報といったもの、それにビデオがあります。
I'm an idiot. It was overcomplicating things so much. Kayama's watch, come on, I was looking at it earlier. Kayama's watch at 12:04 p.m. Toshio's is 12:20, that's the time it displays on the clock. We saw Kayama set his watch by the clock earlier, yet now it's slow. That means he set the time by something other than the clock, and the only other thing we have that you could set time by is the VCR that got slowed down. Chat, are you following me? That got slowed down by the blackouts. Now, the employees, the girls, and of course ourselves didn't let anyone into their rooms. We've confirmed this. So the only person who could have let... The only person who has VCR who could have let Kayama into their rooms after the murder... is Tanaka.
このペンションには鳩時計以外時計がありませんから、ビデオの時間表示は非常に目につくものとなっています。
Tanaka's room also had a VCR.
加山さん。
I'm so confused. Let me spell it out for you. Before the blackout took place, we saw Kayama set his watch by the clock that is 5 minutes fast. We know it. We saw this, we were in the room when it happened, we know it. However, Kayama's watch is currently several minutes slow, almost exactly 15 minutes slow. Oh, 15, or rather almost exactly 10 minutes slow. It's slow is the important bit here. I mean, he said it again on Tanaka's VCR. Yes, that's what I mean. If he hadn't done that...
それが何なのかよくわかりませんでした。
Someone cried out. It was Toshio. He was obviously used to dealing with the lodge's VCRs.
トシオさん、なぜ点滅していたのか説明してもらえますか？
Toshio nodded and began to explain.
ここのビデオはどれも停電するとそのことを気づかせるために数字が点滅するようになってるんです。
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we are being raided! Hello Mokimata and hello all viewers. My name is Mitsuda Midoi. I am a forensic scientist from the world of mystery fiction. And today we are playing Kamaitachi no Yoru, one of the most influential mystery games ever made. Originally released all the way back on the SNES by pre-Spike Murder Chunsoft. Linear time is still a thing. We haven't gone insane. Hello Mitsuda, hello Moki. We are right at the climax of a very major route. We're about to expose a culprit. Eva says hello too. Hi Eva! Hi Eva, I hope you're feeling better. I miss you. Anyway, what was I just talking about? We were just talking through a very complex series of events involving watches. God, how far back do I want to go? I don't want to leave you all lost, but we're a lot of game. We've got a lot of game behind us. That was very strange. All right, I'll go back few lines just to help y'all keep up since Tome's kind of lost already. So let's sum up what we've learned so far. The cuckoo clock here at Spur Lodge was set by Toshio. I'm not lost, yes you are, we all saw it. It's 5 minutes faster than the actual time. Naturally, that means Toshio's watch is also 5 minutes fast. No one interrupted. I continued speaking. But there are other ways to tell the time besides watches or clocks. Like TV, radio, the telephone, and VCRs. There are no clocks in this lodge other than the cuckoo clock, so the digital time display on a VCR would stand out. Isn't that right, Mr. Kayama? Kayama didn't answer. Before I went to bed last night, I noticed the time on my VCR was flashing. Same thing when I woke up this morning. But I couldn't figure out why. Oh! Someone cried out. It was Toshio. He was obviously used to dealing with the lodge's VCRs. Imagine using a VCR still. I said this earlier, Mokester. This is a remake of a game that was released in the early 80s. Toshio, can you tell us why it was blinking? Toshio nodded and began to explain. The displays on all the VCRs here start flashing after there's been a power outage.
夕べの停電。あれのせいでビデオの時間は全部狂ってたんですよ。
There's the important bit. Mari interrupted.
でもうちのビデオは停電すると時間は0時になっちゃうわよ。
Toshio shrugged.
それは古い方ですね。最近のは停電しても少しの間はタイマーが動くのがほとんどです。
Yeah, you know, modern VCRs, you know, that thing that's totally going to still be a thing by the time we play this game. Totally gonna be legitimate.
残念ながら、ここのビデオはその中間型で、停電してる間はタイマーが止まっていて、通電が始まるとまた動くようになってます。
That seems so much worse than just not having any like backup at all. How does that benefit us in any way? I continued.
分かってもらえましたか？つまり、夕べの停電以降、ビデオの時間表示はすべて正確な時刻から11分遅れ、鳩時計と比べると16分遅れになったのです。最初鳩時計と同じ時刻だったとすると、16分間停電していたということですね。
いや、ビデオの時計を合わせるときは確か電話の時報で確認したはずだから。
そうですか。では停電は11分だったということになります。でもそれは重要ではないんです。重要なのは犯行があったと思われる時間。このペンション内には3通りの時間があったということです。
There are 3 different times in this lodge. We're actually built directly on top of the international date line. It's a real sticking point for tourist attractions. It's good because we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
3通りの時間？
そう。
That's right.
鳩時計と敏夫さんの時計を基準とした時間。それに狂ったビデオ。そして今は正確だと判明した僕の腕時計です。
Oh, damn, she's cute. Man, everybody keeps saying that. Like, you said that, Otome said that, I think, Discord Light Mode said that. Honestly, she just looks like a really generic anime girl to me. I didn't say that. It might have been you, it might have been Discord Light Mode. Someone else said it. Who said I had standards? Okay, that's a totally legitimate point, Moki. Anyway. Would you believe me if I said there's an ending in this game where we accidentally push her down a flight of stairs, she winds up dead, with her hair covering her face so she only has one eye visible? Because that's a thing that happened and I had to resist so hard the urge to make any jokes about it.
先ほど僕は加山さんと敏夫さんの時計の時間を確かめました。敏夫さんは当然鳩時計と同じです。これは当たり前のことですね。敏夫さんが合わせたんですから。
I've read that before. Yeah, weird, right? Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time that's happened. I have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I think the power's out for 15 to 20 minutes. No, we just went over this. Honestly, the exact length of how long the power outage was is less important than how far off, than who was living by what time and why. If you'll follow.
では、加山さんの時計は一体どんな時間だったでしょうか。
Mokimata just subscribed with Prime. Goodness me. You know, every time I see this subscription notice, it strikes me as a bit less interesting. But hey, Moki, thank you for spending your Prime sub on me. Enjoy your emotes. Hey, what time was it on Mr. Kayama's watch? I posed the question to the group, but no one answered. They just kept on staring at Kayama. A sheen of sweat was breaking out off Kayama's brow.
加山さんの時計は僕のものとも敏夫さんのものとも異なっていました。僕よりも11分遅れ、そして敏夫さんの時計よりは16分遅れていました。おや、何かと同じですね。
Oh god, oh no, this is terrible. Toru is getting the disease. He is turning into a great detective. He's getting smug. Toru, no, don't go into the light.
ビデオね。
Don't go into the cold light of reason. I nodded.
そう。不思議なことに、加山さんの時計は停電で狂ったビデオの表示と同じなのです。
偶然や。別におかしなことでも何でもあれへん。
That's a very specific number to just be a coincidence, my good man. Kayama looked over at me and dismissed my claim.
もちろん、それが正確な時刻なのだとしたらおかしくはありません。でもそれは間違った時間なんです。
そういうことかってあるやろ。
I think I am thinking what you're saying. I'm waiting for Toru to waste time by accusing Jenny so Mario can take over and go for the real culprit. How could Jenny have wielded a knife when she doesn't have opposable thumbs, though? I had no choice but to show my cards at this point.
そうですね。そういう偶然がないとは言い切れません。でも加山さんに限ってはそうではないんです。加山さんが昨日の夕食の前、ご自分の時計をあの鳩時計に合わせているのを僕は見ているんですから。
It's just telekinesis. But we're already dealing with a Kamaitachi. You can't introduce 2 supernatural elements to a single mystery story. That's just against the rules. You can have psychics, or you can have yokai. Not both. There are very specific well codified rules about these things, excuse me. What about psychic yokai? Okay, now you're just being ridiculous. This caught Mario's attention.
一体どういうことなの？
いいかい？こういうことだ。昨日夕食の時点では加山さんの時計は鳩時計に合っていた。そして田中さんが実質に戻り、停電があり、やがて元に戻った。そして次の日、不思議なことに加山さんの時計は一気に16分も遅れ、それは狂ったビデオと同じ時間だった。
Now, what could have possibly occurred in the interim?
これが意味することは一つしか考えられない。加山さんはあの停電以降、ビデオのある部屋に入って、 自分の時計を合わせたんだ。さて、さっきの質問をもう一度繰り返します。部屋にビデオのある方で加山さんを招き入れた方がこの中にいらっしゃいますか？いませんね。ちなみに僕の部屋にももちろん招待した覚えはありません。つまり
There's only one room with a VCR that hasn't been denied. I took a deep breath and continued.
加山さんは昨べ停電以降に田中さんの部屋を訪れたということになります。そして田中さんを殺す前か殺した後かは分かりませんが、彼はビデオの表示を見てしまった。
Sure was a lot of words for a single text box, but isn't it important?
デジタルの表示というのは正確そうに見えるものです。彼はついそちらが正しいのだと思って合わせてしまった。
He probably assumed it was the battery backup type we mentioned earlier and not this incredibly convoluted, unhelpful type we actually have. Seriously, why is this a thing?
あなた本当なの？
Kayama's wife was distraught and screaming as she grabbed him by the shoulders. But when Kayama looked away from her, she seemed suddenly convinced by what I'd said.
どうしてなの？
She finally said something in like over 24 in-game hours. Hey, sometimes you're just a side character who doesn't have all that much to say. I've been like that in, quite frankly, most of my appearances. If you're not the detective and you're not culprit, you just don't really have that much to contribute to a story, you know?
動機は僕には想像もつきません。本人の口から聞くしかないでしょう。ただ加山さんに初めから田中さんを殺す気があったとは思いません。犯行の後、慌てて同じ凶器で電話線を切っていることから僕はそう推測しました。計画的犯行ならあらかじめ電話線を切るでしょうからね。
The expression on Kayama's face confirmed I'd guessed correctly.
最初はまず落ち着いて話をしてたんじゃないですか。おそらくその時に時計を合わせてしまったのでしょう。その後口論か何かがあり、加山さんは田中さんを殺した。計画的でないとすると凶器は田中さんの持ち物でしょう。
The murder weapon likely belonged to the victim. It was his room, and Otome. When we looked at the body, our first impulse was straight razor, not knife. And if this is Tanaka and not Suzuki, as we've kind of been saying earlier, Corey, hello, also God, oh God, it's in my eyes, ow, 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 oh God, thumb, ow. Anyway, Corey, you're just in time. We are halfway through the summation at the end, and we've already exposed the culprit's identity. Hooray! This was a really solid case, though, I've got to say. I'm gonna save my total of thoughts for the end, but, wow, this is actually, this is some classic Golden Age of Japanese mystery. That's a big hand. Yeah, and it's going right where I need to kinda need to see. Yeah, at least I hope they watched it, Jesus. I don't actually have any say on where this thing shows up.
旅行中持っていそうな刃物というとカミソリくらいですかね。田中さんは床屋さんが使うようなカミソリを持っていたんじゃないですか。
I mean, it would be kind of uncomfortable wearing a fake beard over a real beard, you know? Kayama remained silent for a while, keeping his gaze locked on the floor. Then he began to speak, almost forcing the words out.
あいつはマムシのようなやつやった。
Would you say he was a weasel? And did you kill him with a sickle? At night? Would you say you performed some sort of Night of the Sickle Weasel, or possibly a Kamaitachi? No, this isn't working. Back out of it, man. Abort! Abort! Kayama's wife, who had her hands on his shoulders, suddenly drew back as if she'd touched something hot. She brought a hand to her mouth in shock.
あなた。
すまん、春子。仕方なかったんや。あいつは黒木英二っちゅう元総会や。いや、ヤクザや。
So he was a Yakuza. We were right the first time. I never should have doubted myself. Now, the Yakuza theory was right all along. It probably wasn't like a Yakuza though. I mean, if Kiryu was any indication, that guy was probably too tough to be killed by just a slash from a straight razor. He's like a dragon now, in the sense he was slain. This guy of all people, honestly, they just don't make dragons like they used to.
田中一郎やで。笑わしよるわ。
Honestly surprised any of you fell for that. Kayama left, though he didn't sound the least amused.
会社始めた頃は労働葬儀やらやなんやらでヤクザまがいの連中につい世話になることもあった。みんなやっとることやさかいしゃあない思て付きを取った。
Okay, so if everyone jumped off a bridge, would you do that too, little mister? Hmm? Oh, it's conformism. Labor of all things, absolutely shameful.
でもやっぱりこのままやったらいかん。そう思てすっぱり手切ったんや。切ったつもりやったんや。
Kayama's face twisted with emotion.
そしたら暴力団新法やなんやいうもんができて金回りが悪なったんやろな。あの手この手でたかりを始めよったんや。昔の付き合いがあるさかい警察に訴えるわけにもいかへん。
Okay, chat. Teachable moments. If you ever find yourself in the mystery novel world, things are based on twists and surprise, so you can't really trust anything, but there's one rule that I and all of my many decades living here on a sliding time scale have never ever seen subverted. It's this. Never ever blackmail another person. You will turn up dead. It is the one crime you can't possibly get away with. As she listened to her husband's story, Marika began to silently weep.
黒木はそん中でも一番立ちの悪いやつや。こんなとこまで追っかけてきよって5000万よこせ。せやなかったら会社潰したるって言いよった。
That's a lot of money.
わしとこかで中小企業や。右から左にそんな金出るわけあらへん。話し合いでなんとかならんか思ったけど、最後にはあいつ家族になんかあってもええんかいって。
Companion Black contact murder with Yoru. It's already out there for everyone to see, so I'm not getting murdered. Okay, I didn't say that, Otome. Let's not accuse me of things I didn't say just yet. Anyway, it'd be a real shame if something happened to your family. Maybe if any of them, caught fire? Fires happen, Colonel. That's all I'm saying. Atsuko looked up at her husband.
5体満足でいてほしいやろって。それでわしカーッとなって気ぃついたらあいつの首絞めてたんや。
He looked down at his hands.
ハッとして手を離したけどあいつは目向いて泡吹いとった。こうなったらもうしゃあない。カバンからでっかいカミソリが覗いとったさかい。それであいつの喉切ったったんや。ゆうべの階段みたいに 見えるんちゃうか思て。
Kayama brought his long confession to a close. Was it really a long confession? Honestly, that was pretty normal by my standards. And that good old Kindaichi kid, he's lucky if he can get a confession that only takes one whole chapter. I should never have started digging. I should have left that sort of thing to the police. They only wanted to help get us out of that awful situation. We were all trying our best not to look at Kayama, I think. That's why none of us noticed what Kayama was up to until we heard Mari scream. When I looked back up, I saw Kayama holding Mari from behind. He had the razor still covered in dried blood pressed against her neck. At least he's not going for the arm this time. It looked like he was ready to slit her pale throat at any moment.
Mari!
I cried out. Oh no, imagine the infections that cut would cause. Yes, that's clearly the biggest problem we are facing right now. I mean, obviously. Mari's mouth opened and closed, almost like she was trying to call my name. But all I heard was the sound of her panicked breathing. I tried to reach out for her.
動くんやない。頼むから動かんといてくれ。この子を傷つけとかない。
It was less a threat, more a desperate plea. That's why if it came down to it, I had no doubt he'd cut her throat wide open. I couldn't risk forcing him into a corner.
あなたやめて。お願いだからもうやめて。
Faced with his wife's tearful plea, Kayama could only shake his head.
すまん。春子。お前には何もしてやれんかったな。
As he said this, he started dragging Mari out of the lounge and toward the front door. He's a very different culprit from the other guy, isn't he? Kayama noticed Kobayashi, inching toward him.
小林君、変な真似したらあかんで。今から車回してもらおうが、誰飲んでもええ。限界は回すんや。
Oh no, you aren't a caring husband. Did he really say anything all that bad in this timeline? I mean, yeah, the other one was there, but in the other one, the culprit was a totally different person who doesn't even exist here. We know we looked through his bag, so we didn't find any of the evidence from that case.
車で逃げようったって無理な相談だ。やめた方がいい。
いいから持ってこい。
Kobayashi looked around at the rest of us. Then, nodding in reluctant compliance, he headed to the parking lot out back. Haruko began sobbing. Whether in fear or sympathy, Kanako immediately began crying as well. See Kanako fall apart while Mari was still holding it together? It made me irrationally angry somehow. Cold must have slowed matters because it took a good several minutes before we heard the sounds of an engine idling outside the front door. Mari seemed to be on the verge of fainting. If it wasn't for Kayama holding her up, it looked like she'd fall forward under the razor blade herself.
しっかりしろマリ。
Mari's eyes fluttered open as she weakly called to me. Kobayashi hurried inside amid a blast of icy wind. He was covered in snow.
さあ、ご要望通りにしたぞ。その子を離せ。
まだや、まだあかん。みんなそっちに寄るんや。はよ。
We gathered in the corner of the lounge, just as Kayama had ordered.
そこでじっとしてるんやで。この子は麓で解放したる。もし下で警察が待ち構えとったりしたらどうなるか分かっとるやろな。 分かっとったら警察なんかには電話せんことや。おとなしく待っとけ。
At the bottom. No, well, I mean, would it benefit him to drop her off anywhere sooner? We could all just grab him before he finished getting away. I couldn't do anything to stop him. Kaima dragged Mari out onto the porch, then into the idling car. I couldn't bear it any longer. I ran out after them.
Mari!
A white minivan, snow piled high on its roof and hood, spun its wheels for a moment, kicking up snow, and it was gone, melting away into the blizzard. I stared off into that snowy void. Stared off in that snowy void for a few moments, then collected myself and turned back to Kobayashi. Your car.
車を貸してください。
追いかけてどうするんだ。これだけの人間がいても手出しができなかったじゃないか。君一人でどうするつもりだ。
I mean, maybe if you pull in front of him and cause a controlled collision. If he's wearing his seatbelt, he probably won't die. I didn't know the answer to that question. But I couldn't just sit there and do nothing.
俺の車で行こう。この辺りの運転なら俺が一番慣れてる。
And Toshio is, as usual, the real MVP. It was as if someone had just plucked me from the depths of hell.
お願いします。
As Toshio rushed out to get his car, Kobayashi looked over at me.
マリちゃんを頼むよ。
はい。
I buckled my seatbelt as Toshio started up the car. The roar of the engine was particularly reassuring at that moment. Snow kept piling up on our windshield faster than our wipers could clear it away. Cedar trees flashed by along the sides of the road, looking almost like streaks of white paint on canvas. Even though it was the middle of the day and our headlights were on, we couldn't see more than a dozen feet ahead of us. If Toshio were to be distracted for even a moment, he'd surely lose sight of the road and plunge us into the woods. He held the steering wheel in a white-knuckled death grip, and kept driving as fast as he dared.
足を踏ん張っといた方がいい。
Neither of our cars are surviving this, are we? Hope you have good insurance. I was way ahead of him. After all, the ride had been alarmingly bumpy so far. The car seat had yet to kick in, so we were shivering in our seats, teeth chattering. I wondered if we'd end up buried in snow, but not found it yet until spring. Right, left. Toshio kept turning the wheel. How could he even see the curves coming up? Maybe if you turn your headlights up, you'll be able to catch him by surprise? You know, like in Initial D. Text didn't say it did happen. Yeah, that's how we know Toru wasn't actually born. He doesn't have parents. He just kind of spawned into existence one day. Alongside the whole rest of the cast. He began to fishtail. The next moment, our whole car started spinning like a top. Going head to head, it's a way of life. Gotta fall down, hit crowd to get back up again. That's Beyblade. Sure, if we used the power of Beyblades, we could catch him no problem. That instant seemed to stretch out forever. Then, perhaps 1/100th of a second later, we came crashing to a stop. My body slammed against the passenger side door, knocking the wind out of me. Toshio and I spent a few moments catching our breaths.
おい、生きてるか？
はい、多分。
Yeah, probably still alive, but really anything's possible. I know we could be a character in like level 3 of the video game Inception. We smiled at each other, weakly. It appeared Toshio had crashed into a snowbank on the left side of the road. We both unbuckled our seatbelts and crawled out of the driver's side door. Outside, it was still as windy and snowy as ever. I guess we were maybe a half mile or so from the lodge. We couldn't walk back. We couldn't do anything to help Mari. Just then, the branches of the trees shook as what sounded like an explosion rumbled through the earth. Aha. I see we are equally matched.
なんだ
Truly, our battle will be legendary. We headed off through the blizzard in the direction of the sound. My feet quickly being bogged down in the deep snow, yet I floundered onward. I spotted fresh tire tracks on the ground nearby. As we followed their trail, the forest suddenly opened up before us. No, it couldn't be. I almost lost my footing, but Toshio grabbed hold of me.
急カーブだ。
Tire tracks ignored that curve, however, and headed straight for the edge of the cliff. The guardrail there was torn apart, as if it had been no more than tissue paper. When I leaned over the edge, I could see a smoldering fire down in the riverbed below. The stench of burning rubber and gasoline assaulted my nostrils. Why are all fictional cars made out of explodium? Like, you'd think they wanted people to die every time your car gets lightly bumped. You've redeemed another hydrate. Thank you very much.
マリマリマリ
Man, that guy is like super on fire. What the hell? I collapsed to my knees, there in the snow.
マリ
Remembered her on the ski slopes, smiling so brightly. And earlier at the lodge, Mari had called out my name. That's right. Earlier that morning, Mari had woken me up by... I whirled around.
マリ
Oh, you... donkey peasant. What the hell is wrong with you? I thought you might have passed out or something. Mari came staggering out of the blizzard. This wasn't an illusion. How can you know that? It was real. We struggled through the snow towards her.
あの車は
Mari was crying. It was the first time I'd ever seen her weep. Playing League. Well, don't, son. I thought him would leave us on the cliffhanger before we chased Kayama now that there won't be one. I wouldn't be that mean. We still got plenty of time to go. Tomorrow's a weekend.
葉山さん、私を降ろしてくれたの。それからスピードを出して。
I put my arm around her shoulders and looked back at the torn guardrail. Maybe Kayama had never intended to take Mari hostage in the first place. Or had the voice of his conscience finally prevailed at the last minute?
何も死ぬことはないのにな。
He didn't have to die, but if he did, that would make sure this case was completely closed, I suppose. Still really is too bad. Toshio muttered to himself. But I couldn't bring myself to think about such things right now. Mari was alive. All I wanted was to be with her. Tanuki was the antagonist, he was a real stand-up guy, you know? He was a real good fella, if you will. Forgetting about the freezing cold, the three of us just stood there and watched black smoke rise from the bottom of the valley for a long, long time. So our car is still super fucked up. How are we gonna get back home? We were driving for a decent while before we got back on. That'd be a bit of a problem. Right, there's the end of that road, as it were. I'll do that walking through a labyrinth minigame again. No, we won't. Question the hours, what will we have to do? That was okay. Okay, maybe you're approaching this from a different point than I have, but as a mystery fan, that was absolutely fantastic. Is that the best ending so far? I don't necessarily think so. There was another ending where we managed to find a different culprit. As you can see, Corey, we are on a totally different timeline. You are here. Standard start point is here. There's a normal ending where we managed to catch the culprit of that timeline without any casualties other than, you know, good old Tanaka. Or Eiji or whatever his name was. I kinda wanna, now that like more people have shown up, I kinda wanna go back and forth you all to experience this route. And I wouldn't wanna bore or those of you who weren't there before. Malky, I feel like, would appreciate this route especially. And of course, God only knows how much stuff we haven't unlocked yet. All this empty space. This game's terrifying. Okay with any route. We've done both branches from here already, so I guess we'll just hop on up here and see where we can find.
もう帰ろうよ。
Right. These three options were all here last time, but we have a new branch here. We can just sleep in until morning. Totally skip dinner. That's not healthy. You shouldn't do that. It's fun to keep your strength up. Had I fallen asleep with my eyes open? I've been awake this whole time. I was only now becoming aware of it. As I was lying face down in bed. I tried blinking. Breathing. Finally, I tried wiggling my fingers. Yep. I was alive. Now we know, and knowing half the battle. But my mind was all foggy. Empty of everything. As if I'd slept so much that my brain had gone numb. I couldn't even remember who or where I was. That's when you suddenly gain consciousness. I mean, my brain is active enough that I basically never go unconscious, especially with all the shit I gotta do while I'm still awake, so this is kinda new to me, I'm sorry. Despite this, I didn't experience any panic or unease. Just a vague sense of curiosity about where I'd found myself. Everything else was a blur. Somebody else's blur. All I knew for sure was that I was starting to get hungry. Felt like a newborn baby waiting for its bottle. That's when I heard footsteps approaching, followed by a knock on the door. I thought, this must be my mother. And with that, she gave me a smile. She didn't seem to be my mother, but I could easily imagine she was someone to me. Unfortunately, I couldn't remember a single thing about who she was. She called me Toru, however. So I guessed my name was Toru? I gave up. Yep, that's probably the correct answer under most circumstances, for being honest. I can't remember a damn thing. I wanted to offer her an appropriate response, but the best I could manage was a smile.
お腹空いたでしょ？朝食に行こうよ。
She took my hand. Her skin was soft and warm. I still couldn't remember anything, but I figured I might as well follow along for now. I bet you Toru's going to be able to go this entire route without ever revealing that he's actually not in possession of his memory. Just smile and nod in response to all queries and you'll be fine. After all, I was hungry and I couldn't think of any better options. More than anything, I wanted a warm breakfast. Besides, I'm not sure I'd remember her name sooner or later. I mean, I'd already learned my name. As for where I was... What was this place? It appears to be a hospital of some sort, maybe? I followed her into the hallway and down the stairs. This didn't feel like someone was home. The fact that there was a little window labeled front desk meant this must be a business of some sort. A boarding house or an inn, most likely. This woman and I seem to be staying somewhere together.
どうしたの、トール？
ごめん、まだ頭が寝ぼけてるみたいで。
シャキッとしなさいよ。寝ぼすけなんだから。
We've actually been under for 17 years. She gave me an impish grin, then boop, poked me in the nose. The slightly daring gesture set my heart racing. At the same moment, I finally started feeling uneasy about the fact that my memory hadn't returned yet. This young woman who seemed so dear to me. It's possible she was my girlfriend. Did Toru hit his head, or was his sleep so good he just forgot everything? Anything's possible at this point. We don't remember what we don't remember yet. You know? In which case, she should be the most important person in my life. And I couldn't even remember her name, much less my own. I watched her from behind. She seemed so cheerful, so lovely. I was filled with a sense of helpless regret. When we arrived at the dining room, I saw there were already some other people having their breakfasts. The warmth of the heater, the tempting aromas tickling my nose. My stomach couldn't resist giving a little grumble. Everyone turned to look our way.
Oh, Ohio-san, Mari-chan, それからトール君.
Okay, so you remember Kayama but not Mari. I see how it is.
おはようございます、香山さん。
なんや、トール君は寝不足みたいやな。ゆうべはハッスルしすぎたんとちゃうか?
Yes, we did the hustle so hard we lost all our memories. Clearly, that's the answer. The middle-aged man gave a vulgar laugh, which drew a sharp rebuke from his female companion. Chuckles circled through the room.
おはよう、トール君。ゆうべはよく眠れたかい?
Like the dead.
ああ、はい。それはもう。
トール、ゆうべはバタンキューだったもの。さぞやよく眠れたでしょうよ。
She seemed a bit miffed by that fact. This time the room filled with raucous laughter. Man, you slept a lot. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I cannot believe how my stomach hurts from laughing so hard.
今、君たちの分も用意するから。それまでドリンクでも飲んでいてくれないかい?
The man seemed to be an employee, maybe even the owner of this place. He pointed to a self-service beverage station in the corner of the room.
ドリンクバーって流行ってるけど、私はおじさんに入れてもらった紅茶の方が良かったわ。
ごめんね。朝は忙しいんだよ。できるならそうしたいんだけどね。
Oh, what are you so busy with today?
でもドリンクバーならおかわりを気にしなくていいから気楽だよね。知ってる？ドリンクバーは3杯以上飲まないと元が取れないんだって。
You are just remembering everyone except your girlfriend, Toru. This is kind of distracting at this point.
もう朝からそんなにガブガブ飲まなくてもいいじゃない。
Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere if the clocks get tampered with. Again.
気にしないでたくさん飲んでくれていいんだよ。特に地元名産のリンゴジュースはおすすめだね。
マリさん、トールさん、おはようございます。よろしければお好きな飲み物をお継ぎしますよ。ありがとうございます。でもドリンクバーの前でそれを悩むのも楽しいものよね。
Yeah, I love agonizing about things. It's what I do every day.
確かにそうだね。
The guests and employees here seem to get along famously, almost like they were friends or family. And yet I couldn't remember a thing about them. So I tried to blend in as best I could and not upset this harmonious atmosphere. Why rock the boat if I didn't have to?
トール、外を見てみて。今日はすごくいい天気。最高のスキー日和ね。
Oh, we're not going to be snowed in this time. There's a decent chance we won't even see him killed, for all we know.
本当だ。すごい銀世界だ。
I haven't even seen Tanaka yet. While I hadn't my memory back yet, I was starting to understand my situation a little better. First of all, this young woman's name seemed to be Mari. She tugged at my hand, leading me over to the window. I'd been telling the truth. It really was a winter wonderland out there. Long icicles hung down from the eaves, and the trees all glistened with frost and snow. You could easily kill someone with either of them. I could feel the sharp contrast between the warmth of this room and the cold that was radiating through the window pane, stinging my nostrils. It was winter. This was probably some sort of lodge or pension. I'd obviously come here to ski with my girlfriend Mari. Maybe we'd even been here for a few days already. If so, we were probably well acquainted with the other guests, which would explain why they were being so friendly to us. God damn it. Guy goes, God damn it, and pounds on the table. Silverware goes flying everywhere, and it was fantastic. I mean, here I was on an amazing ski vacation, yet this amnesia of mine wouldn't go away. Monty's assumed she's girlfriend, they could be friends. A Japanese person in the 80s does not go on a trip with his only companion being a female friend. That is not a thing, I'm sorry. I hated that I had to fake my response to all the friendly smiles being directed our way. Since the mood here was so warm and welcoming, I wasn't too worried about my missing memories. It's not like that's a sign of brain damage or anything. Anyways, this amnesia of mine would melt away before long. Just like the snow. And joke's on you, it's actually October. I was sure Mari would worry if she learned about my condition. I wouldn't be able to go skiing anymore. All this warm togetherness would be ruined. So there was no need to rush things. I just try to go with the flow for now. Besides, there were more important things to worry about. Like the fact that I was still starving. And my stomach was still grumbling.
トール、私の分の飲み物も持ってきてくれない？
Go get some drinks. Perhaps a carbonated soda.
何か希望ある？
じゃあトールのお任せで。
We're gonna get 3 choices and she's gonna turn out to be allergic to 2 of them, isn't she? Jeez, talk about pressure.
トールが思ってる私の好きそうな飲み物を持ってきて。
分かったよ。期待しないで待ってて。
とんでもない。大いに期待してるわよ。
Pressure now doubled. I headed over to the drink bar.
トールさん、頑張って。
オール君ならできるで。愛があればできんことなんかないんや。君の思いの丈をドリンクに託してドーンといくんや。
The pressure now tripled. I picked up a glass. The dining room drink bar had a lot of different options to choose from. There were a variety of fresh juices available, including that locally sourced apple juice I'd been told about a moment ago. There was also coffee, along with an assortment of different teas. I couldn't believe I picked something Mari would like from among all these different options. Jeez. Wish I could remember anything at all, but I was still drawing a blank. So, a drink my girlfriend would love. Worrying about it wouldn't do any good, I suppose. As long as I had the power of love on my side, I was sure she'd be happy with whatever I picked. Joke's on you, she's allergic to cocoa and apple juice. And every brand of tea except her own. Just pray that she'd be able to appreciate the unique logic of the male mind. And I went ahead and chose a drink for her. Alright. Okay, we're under a lot of pressure here, chat. Let's think this through logically. Safe option would be water. What if he really needs to pee, though? You ever think of that? What if she's got some sort of vitamin deficiency or low blood sugar? He was telling us the type of tea. Yeah, the thing is, she did specify that she only likes, like, Uncle Kobayashi's personal blended homemade tea. But this is just some bottled tea we got off a drink bar. We were told the juice, the house specialty, but I mean, what are we, children? Could be coffee just because we have no reason to think it's coffee, but then again, it might not be coffee because there's no reason we should think coffee. So coffee's terrible for you, but on the other hand, literally everyone drinks it. Everyone drinks tea too because we're Japanese, and we know she likes tea, but we don't know if she likes this tea, and that seems like exactly the sort of bullshit twist they would hit us with. For me, I'd pick tea, but we're not picking for myself. If we take coffee, it'll be dark. If we pick tea, it could be dark. Think we should pick tea? You think we should believe in the heart of the tea? Should we believe in the tea that believes in us? Should we believe in ourselves that believes in tea? Alright. Giga Tea Storena. Tea was a grown-up favorite that can be enjoyed for both its taste and aroma. Seemed the best compliment to her graceful charms. No tea bags to be found here? Nope. They did it old school. Loose tea leaves that needed to be scooped into a strainer. So which of these teas was worthy of my mare? Okay, this is getting more complicated than I expected. Darjeeling is the only choice on this option that I've personally taken. Kimun is refined, but we know Mari isn't actually that refined. We know she laughs at bad Robin Williams impressions. We remember that, even if Toru doesn't. This smells nice. Quite to this. Question of the hour is if that would be any good or not. I never mentioned any of these specific blends in previous streams, so I'm kind of flying completely blind. Good aroma is always a good first impression. I doubt it's the first time Mari's ever drank tea in her life, though. I mean, I'm fairly certain of that. They could surprise me. She could have been bluffing earlier. It wouldn't be the weirdest thing she's done across all this game. So... tea, huh? Now take Uva if you don't have any other better ideas. I'm kind of running out of ways to just spin my wheels on the subject of tea. Rich Uva, known for its unique aroma, was the perfect choice for making milk tea. But I decided to play it straight and let Mari enjoy the full fragrance. Is Dr. Midori a big tea drinker? Bigger than coffee, surprisingly. I like the taste of tea, but I'm not like the sort of person who goes out and actively looks for different, different unique blends with different fragrances and fancy names and fancy color changing effects if you add citrus to it. Give me a good old-fashioned Earl Grey and I'll be fine. You mentioned not liking coffee that much. Yeah, that's correct. It's really bitter. It's not really offered by anything unless you add external stuff, and at that point, what's the point, really? I filled Mari's cup to the brim with brightly scented uva. After picking a suitable drink, I returned to the table. Mari was there waiting for me. Hey, sorry it took 20 minutes to pick out your tea. I kind of have amnesia.
お待たせマリ。これ気に入ってくれるといいんだけど。マリ?
Mari asked me for a drink earlier. Her expression, it seemed so warm. But now, believably, her face had gone cold. She just sat there and glared at me. Did she really hate it that much? I'd better get her something else quick, I thought. But before I could even offer, Mari delivered her verdict.
この人はトールじゃない。
She sounded like a hanging judge passing a sentence. A hush settled over the room. The employees and other guests all stared at me as they fell silent. Their eyes filled with pity at her brutal assessment. The warm and friendly atmosphere of a moment ago had evaporated. Much like the tea, leaving behind only dregs. That were all that were left of my life. There was now only suffocating silence, punctuated by the occasional squeaking of the heater.
ごめん。これ気に入らなかった。
Oh, I must have screwed up. I'd chosen the wrong drink and now Mari was pissed at me. That had to be it. But this angry? Really? Really? Was it such a crime that I couldn't guess exactly what she'd wanted to drink? Her eyes, now gone completely frigid, stared at me as if I was a stranger. Wanted to see that lovely smile of hers again, so I tried to think of a way to make it to her. And this is so dramatic. Tea is serious business, Otome. If I go a man's tea order, you may as well have just punched him in the face yourself. Honestly, I thought that was common knowledge. But no. It was too late. The sentence had already been handed down. Death by tea.
おじさん、よろしく。
And with that, I got up and left the room without sparing me so much as a second glance. I tried to follow her, but I suddenly felt hands on my shoulders. They belonged to the man I'd thought was the owner, the one Mari had called Uncle, and a well-built younger male employee.
すまん。本当にすまん。
何の話ですか？マリ、待ってくれよ。話を聞いてくれ。
This is how Toru dies. To thunderous applause.
君は何も悪くないんだ。許してくれ。
I had no idea what he meant. His eyes were bright red, brimming with tears. And with pity. But I didn't care about that right now. I had to apologize to Mari.
行かなくていい。君はこっちだ。
何なんですか？話してください。
乱暴しないであげて、トシオさん。彼は何も悪くないのに。
As I looked around the room, all the women kept their eyes glued to the floor. Oh, he clutches the back. I know, aren't they? Aren't they just so... Yeah, you want to rub my face right into them. As I looked around the room, all the women were keeping their eyes glued to the floor. Some were even weeping. What the hell? I didn't understand what was going on here. And not just now, I meant from the very moment I'd woken up this morning. Who was Mari? Was I Toru or not? And for that matter, where the hell were we?
話せよ。話せ。誰か助けてくれ。
加山さん、あんたも見てないで手伝ってくれ。
今手伝おう思たんや。兄ちゃん、ほんまに堪忍な。
A middle-aged man with the Kansai accent joined the other two. Together, they lifted me off the ground. And you get the drink wrong, they'll cut off one of your fingers. Well, how am I supposed to serve the tea by that point? There was more than a hand's worth of fingers in those options, assuming each of them branches into 3. I desperately pleaded for help. The women only looked away in pity. I kept struggling, screaming for the men to let me go, but it didn't do any good. They carried me out of the dining room, and down a dimly lit stairwell. It seemed like I was being brought to the cellar. They must have been planning to lock me up or something. I couldn't bear the thought of it, being trapped down here without even knowing why. I suddenly stopped, mid-struggle. Then your hair. Not my hair! It's so thick and luxurious. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Just look at this creepy cellar, I thought. Is this some kind of a joke, like a haunted house at an amusement park or something? Please tell me that's what this was. And if so, kudos on a job well done. Really impressive. Very good production values. But otherwise, there was no way I could take what I was seeing just then seriously. A huge magic circle painted on the floor of what looked like a wine cellar. The whole thing was illuminated with candles. So many candles. Spend less money on candles, honestly. Seriously, was this a joke? A prank? The sort of a surprise party? If so, they could stop now. I was already surprised enough to shave at least 10 years off my life. But when I saw what was waiting in the corner of the room, such thoughts flew from my head. Manacles. Shackles. Joined by a chain. That wasn't all. Splashed across the cellar floor, there were bucket loads of... blood. Blood! The 3 men pinned me to the floor. My face was pressed down into the blood. Hadn't yet dried. No, in fact, it was still quite wet. That meant whatever had happened here took place recently, and it resulted in a lot of blood being spilled. Just so much blood, all of the blood. People, you would not believe how much blood we have. There's just blood for days. It's enough blood to drown a horse in. Who was it? Who was it? Wasn't it obvious? Someone like me. Someone who'd been chained up hand and foot, unable to move. I was slapped into restraints, which were then pulled so painfully tight that I couldn't shift my body at all. All I could do was turn my head from side to side and passively observe the fate about to befall me. I didn't need to see that fate to know what it was. That was right, because I could hear the sound of an engine. But not a car engine. No. Oh, if this was a nightmare, I hoped I would wake soon. The sound of the engine, the smell of exhaust fumes, and that massive pool of blood. I didn't need to see it to know. Oh God, I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know.
暴れるとかえって痛い思いをする。無理だろうか。こらえてくれ。
Okay, if you insist.
何をするんです。何をする気だ。やめろ。やめろ。
No, Kobayashi Dono, yamete.
オーナー、危ないですよ。離れてください。
Someone stepped on my head to keep it from moving. Slowly. Ever so slowly. The sound of that brutal engine approached. Until I could actually feel the hot exhaust in my ear.
堪忍や兄ちゃん。ほんまに堪忍や。
トシオ君、頼む。
I could feel the chainsaw start nipping at the hairs on the back of my neck. This was a mistake, right? Some kind of joke? No, stop! Oh God, stop! My hair got snagged by the spinning chain and was ripped away. And the blade starting cutting into the skin at the base of my neck. Hurts. It hurts. Stop. I got it. Stop. Gah. So I kind of put it together midway through, but I didn't want to specify anything. Before we finished, this is the additional content developed by Rikishio 7. Can you believe it? I know, it's unique. Yep, I did see a general summary when I was looking up info on this game before stream, and this matches his section. When we arrived at the dining room, there were already some people having their breakfasts. The warmth of the heater, the tempting aromas tickling my nose. My stomach couldn't resist giving a little grumble. Everyone turned to look our way.
おはようさん、マリちゃん、それからトールくん。
おはようございます、香山さん。
なんや、トールくんは寝不足みたいやな。ゆうべはハッスルしすぎたんとちゃうか。
A middle-aged man gave a vulgar laugh, one which drew a sharp rebuke from his female companion. Chuckles rippled through the room, but for some reason, laughter felt awkward somehow.
トール、私の分の飲み物も持ってきてくれない？
いいとも。何がいい？
トールのお任せで。
Leaving it all up to me was so annoying. Couldn't she at least give you a hint or something?
トールが思ってる私の好きそうな飲み物を持ってきて。
I couldn't think it through. I couldn't remember anything. Except that her name was Mari. I wasn't even 100% sure what sort of relationship she and I had.
努力するけど文句言わないでよ。
期待してるわね。
I waved goodbye, headed over to the drink bar.
ト トールさん頑張って。
トール君ならできるで。きっと。
The way the two of them looked at me as I walked by, it was almost like they were praying. A strange weight on my shoulders. The feeling that if I made the wrong choice, terrible things awaited me. How could that even be possible? I decided to relax and just think of a drink that would be appropriate for Mari, who seemed to be my girlfriend. Alright. Well, we're here again. Does, anybody have any new ideas? Come on, don't overthink things. All we got to do is grab ourselves... Maybe some juice? Apple juice is the specialty, but I don't know, it seems like a bit of a childish drink, you know. I'm gonna be nervous. Was she drinking coffee last time? I feel like she was drinking coffee last time. The other roots, that is. And if we start going too far abroad, we might forget where we were going last time. So do we want to grab a different type of tea? See if that doesn't go any better? I kind of want to do that just to make sure we get... I can take notes. I mean, I could take notes if I wanted to, but that would be against the spirit of the game. And really, in the end, isn't that the most important thing? Alright. Now tell me, last time you said we might be refined, so why don't we try that? Elegant Kimun can be considered the world's finest teas. And yet it was here in this random place. It was often said to have a smoky flavor. That was only true of the cheapest blends. The fragrance of real Kimun was actually reminiscent of sweet roses. But it's not rose hip tea, that is a completely different thing. Don't get yourselves mixed up. Filled Mari's cup to the brim with floral-scented tea. After picking a suitable drink, I returned to the table. Mari was there waiting for me.
Mari, 持ってきたよ。Mari?
Without me even noticing, her smile had withered on the vine.
この人はトールじゃない。
The dining room went silent at Mari's verdict. Painfully silent. People turned and looked at me with pity.
おじさん、よろしく。
マリ、ちょっと待ってよ。一体何をそんなに。
ごめんなさい。ちょっとおじさんの手伝いをしてくれないかしら。
手伝い？いいけど。
I wasn't sure what she was asking me to help with. But if it would get me back in Mari's good graces, I was willing to do anything.
じゃあすまないが、一緒に来てくれないか。
はい。でも何を？
I really think they wrote a different variation of this scene for every possible wrong answer.
大した仕事じゃない。来てくれるだけでいい。
どこへ行くんです？
地下に倉庫があってね。
Can we skip? No, we can't. This is different dialogue.
地下にあるワイン蔵からワインを持ってきてほしいのよ。
簡単な仕事だろ？俺たちだって簡単な仕事さ。何度もやってる簡単な仕事さ。
We've done it so many times now. The two men whisked me out of the dining room. I was being taken into custody. As we left, I noticed the women's eyes were all filled with tears. It was like they were watching a piglet being sent off to the slaughterhouse. The three men disappeared down the stairs leading to the wine cellar. Back in the dining room, the women all turned their heads. Some even clamped their hands over their ears. The middle-aged man was rubbing his hands together in prayer. He kept reciting the same Buddhist chant over and over again.
Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu.
もういやいつまで続くの
Maybe Dragon Knight-san wrote a different execution for every mistake. That would be totally in character for him. The man loves writing himself some moitas.
聞きたくない聞きたくない
Just then, a deafening scream rang out. The women all covered their ears and screamed as well.
もうなんなのよやめてよやめてよいや
After a while, Toru's long scream came to a sudden and violent end. That's probably meant to loop. What? No, Ryukichi's story, that's nonsense. Clearly insane.
トールが思ってる私の好きそうな飲み物を持ってきて
さっきも言った通り、僕はどうも記憶喪失みたいで。
His dialogue here is all changing too, if you'll notice.
トールならフィーリングで選べるはず記憶なんていいのトールの感性で選んでみて
I didn't understand any of this. I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know where I was. It was like I'd been magically transported to the world of a play. Anxiety building up inside me suddenly started to give way to anger.
だからトールって誰だよ。本当に僕のことなのか。僕に記憶はない。でもなんとなくわかるんだ。僕はトールなんて名前じゃない。マリなんて名前の女友達はいないし、こんな場所に来た覚えもない。いうか俺スキーなんてやったことも。ほら。
Suddenly, all sound disappeared from the world and... No. My eyes rolled back in my head. My consciousness was swallowed up in a sea of static. My whole body felt as heavy as a sandbag. I fell to the ground with a thud. The floor, which ought to be hard, instead felt as soft as a feather bed. I sank down into it. What the... Toru was sprawled out on the floor, the back of his head smashed in. Dark blood poured from the crater in his skull. A second later, all the women started shrieking and sobbing.
やめてよこんなところで掃除が大変じゃない
こういう手合いは手間取るだろう。こうしてやる方が慈悲ってもんさ。
There was a bloody hammer in the man's hand.
緑、オーナー、ここの掃除を頼みます。
掃除が終わったら呼んでもらえる少し休むわ
Mari rose from her chair and went upstairs. The man, meanwhile, lifted Toru's body and started for the cellar.
トシオさんどうしてあなたはそんなにも冷酷になれるの
俺は回りくどいことが嫌いなだけさ。
彼には何の罪もないのにどうしてそんな手荒に扱うことができるの
手荒にじゃない。わけもわからないうちに眠らせた方がこいつのためだからさ。それに俺だって聞かなくて済むなら。断末魔の叫びはもうごめんだ。
I mean, given the option, I'd rather not have to voice anymore either, so I think we both benefit this way. I'm with Toshio on this one.
確かに明暗やな。先にガツンとやって眠らせた方がお互いのためやで。
あなたそういう話じゃないでしょもう嫌だよ家に帰りたいよ
帰れないのさ。俺たちはもう誰も。
Truly, that was a blood-curdling scream of horror. Courtesy of Mr. Duck.
トシオ君、それを言ってはいけない。
いいや、オーナー。そこははっきりさせた方がいい。そこの女たちは耳を塞いでりゃいいだけだろうが、俺たちは違う。人違いのたびに取り押さえ、時には引っかかれ、ぶん殴られ、それでも地下室に引きずり込み、しぶきを浴びながら頭蓋骨をバキバキ切断してきたんだ。好きでやってると思うか？俺だって冗談じゃないだ。
Deliberately going for the skull seems like the least efficient way to go about that, if we're being honest. Like, come on, man. At least go for, like, the soft bit at the throat. Come on. Slap. One of the women brought her hand to Toshio's cheek. At least it looked like a slap. But maybe she was just pressing her palm against his cheek to calm him down.
トシオくん、辛い役ばかり本当にごめんね。あなたが一番傷ついているのにね。みどりちゃんもトシオくんを責めないであげて。あなただけでも彼を分かってあげなくてどうするっていうの
In the blink of an eye, the once quiet dining room was filled with weeping.
いつもありがとう、トシオ君。今回は休むんだ。彼のことは私と加山さんでやっておくから。
せやな、トシオ君も少し休んだらええ。みどりちゃんと二人肩を並べて紅茶でも飲んだらどうや。
I don't know, tea hasn't been working out that well for us thus far. To do it though. It's not the tea's fault. Come on, let's try to be reasonable here.
はあ？何人の血で手を染めたかもわからない俺の手で緑に触れられるわけないだろ。
I mean, Toshi, have you considered washing your hands? That'd be, that'd maybe help. Little.
やめてやめてやめてもう嫌。
Kobayashi, working alone, dragged Toru's body down to the cellar. After several false starts, he finally got the chainsaw running. Toshio's sobs filled the air, as if to drown out the sounds of that awful engine.
Toru が思ってる私の好きそうな飲み物を持ってきて。
僕が思ってるマリの好きそうなもの？
うん、感じるままにトールらしいインスピレーションで選べばいいのよ。
何を選んでも文句を言わないでよ。
トールなら何を作って私を楽しませてくれるか私はもう知ってるの。
How convenient that they started us on the one that was, you know, least explicit about this little detail here. Hell, if you're Toru, you'd think you'd know that better than anyone. Honestly, who's the real bad guy here? Huh?
あなたが本当にトールなら同じものを作ってくれるはず。
How many times had it been now? Yet another Toru was being sent up to the drink bar. Ignorance was bliss, apparently. He was the only one in the room who seemed excited by the prospect. Everyone watched him go, a prayer in their eyes.
今度こそトールくんであってお願い。 トールさんでなくてもいいから、どうか正解を選んで。絶対無理よ。あんな変なの誰にも思いつくわけがないわ。
Yoru stood in front of the drink bar. Well then, what kind of drink did I think she'd like? My memories hadn't come back yet, but still, I didn't want to let her down. Alright, tea for 3. Darjeeling. Clearly this is the weirdest option on this list. Drink your tea. There's a name recognition, frame recognition, yes, clearly. Darjeeling was pretty much a lock. Yeah, I might have their own personal favorites, but I couldn't think of anyone who actively disliked Darjeeling. Why is it the weirdest? Okay, Otome, there's a little concept called sarcasm. Sometimes people employ it when they're speaking. Got to sleep now after the rest of the game. Okay, good night, Tori. Try not to pick the wrong drink. Keep your head attached. Let's not lose our heads, though. I filled Mari's cup up to the brim with the champagne of teas. I mean, actually, it's only really champagne if it's brewed in the champagne region of France. Otherwise, it's just a sparkling tea. After picking a suitable drink, I returned to the table. Mari was there, waiting for me.
こんなのでいいかい？
全然違うわ。
Mari answered with a weary sigh, not even bothering to hide her annoyance.
この人はトールじゃない。
Wham! There was the dull crack of a hammer, followed by the sharp crack of my skull. My eyes rolled back in my head. I lost consciousness without ever knowing for sure if my name was Toru. Man, oh man, what kind of drink would Mari like? In the end, I thought maybe I should just get whatever I liked best. I stood in front of the drink bar, my arms crossed. I could feel the weight of her expectant stare on my back. Right, we're out of teas, I do think. What are we thinking? Juice or coffee? Coffee or juice? I feel like there could be weirder options on the juice tray. You could certainly screw up coffee a bit harder. Coffee seemed like the perfect complement to Mari's mature charms. What about milk and sugar? Right, I don't actually remember if they even mentioned how she took it last time. On the rare occasion I do take coffee, I take it milk, no sugar. She definitely doesn't have a sweet personality. Are these really mature tastes, though? One must wonder. And we're gonna have to go through all of these anyway, obviously none of these are the correct answer, none of them are weird. Just not mature. Milk first. I filled Mari's mug with fresh coffee. Then I poured in some fresh milk from the carafe to make a mellow cafe au lait. If I added sugar right now, it'd turn into a kiddie drink, but keeping it black might be too mature. So I tried to thread the needle and perfectly capture her charms in this drink. After picking a suitable drink, I returned to the table. Mari was there, waiting for me.
気に入ってくれるといいんだけど。マリ？
トールは私をもっと楽しませてくれる人。もっといたずら心のある素敵な人。
What was Mari saying? Who was she talking about?
この人もトールじゃない。またトールじゃない。トールじゃない。また。
マリ？
because I'm incredibly stupid.
Ari began to sob in anguish. I didn't have any idea what was happening, but I couldn't help trying to console her. Suddenly, I felt a presence behind me and I turned around. Wham! Josh's hammer caught me right between the eyes, crushing my skull. Alright, let's bring in Toru number... Ladies and gentlemen, this is Toru number 5. Spire Lodge was snowed in by a howling blizzard. Inside, Kobayashi and Kyoko were almost done cleaning the dining room. Preparing once again to welcome a new Toru.
テーブルクロスにシミができちゃうよ。ここで派手にやられると。
ほほほほほ。
ありがとう、あなた。気丈に振る舞ってくれて。
Kyoko gently placed her hand on Kobayashi's back. As the owner of Spur, he'd always tried to keep a friendly expression on his face. Kobayashi didn't stop working, but his eyes grew rimmed with red.
マリちゃんをあんな風にしてしまった責任は私にある。
自分を責めないで。あれは事故よ。
You need to move on. The accident wasn't your fault.
緑は前から機械の調子が悪いってずっと言ってたんです。
そんなこと今さら言ってもどうしようもないわよ。
Toshio and Midori had arrived unnoticed. Even if Spur Lodge had become a snow-covered hell, it didn't change the fact that they were its staff. Each time Spur was stained with blood, they would clean it up again and ready the lodge for the next guest.
君たちも本当にすまない。すべて私の責任だ。
オーナーが悪いわけじゃないです。
どんな事故だって不運だって神様のおぼし飯。私たちは受け入れるしかないのよ。
And if you hadn't fixed the thing up, that would have, that would in fact, you can't really blame that one on God. That being the case, they surely could simply kill him in the least bloody way possible. I mean, I doubt they have any poisons on hand. At their little ski lodge for hospitable hosteling. I mean, what do you want to strangle? Let's just strangle him then. That's so inhumane, though. Do you have any idea how long it takes a person to die from being strangled?
Midori-chan, ありがとう。
It's at least 3 minutes, and that's if you're doing everything perfectly.
オーナーも辛かったと思います。でも、もう誰もオーナーを
Is just hitting anyone with a hammer any more humane, though? Hey, have any of the last 3 Torus expressed any feeling of pain?
今問題なのはオーナーより
Dying of oxygen deprivation is the single most primally, deeply rooted fear a person has. If you destroy the fear center of somebody's brain but they live, they will not fear anything else. But they'll still know to be afraid of being strangled.
納得するまで付き合うしかないだろう。
トール君がいつ来るかなんて誰にもわかるものか。このまま付き合ってたら俺たちはみんな頭がどうにかなっちまうぜ。
半分はマリさんの自業自得だとは思う。でも気持ちはわかるの。私たちはいいじゃない。こうして一緒にいられるんだから。でもあの子は違うのよ。私だって 敏夫さんだけがいなくなってしまったら同じことをしたかもしれない。敏夫さんもでしょ。不幸な偶然であの子たちだけが引き裂かれてしまった。気持ちは痛いくらいにわかるのよ。
They mentioned that they'd been dating for like a month, right? It's winter now, just since last fall. Toshio shrugged, not caring to understand Mari's motivations. But the expression on his face betrayed a much more complicated mix of emotions.
トールに間違われた連中が気の毒でならないよ。
それについては同感だよ。彼らの断末魔が耳から離れない。
こんなことがあとどれだけ続くって言うんだ。心だってな、死ぬんだぜ。俺たちはそのうち本当の殺人鬼になっちまう。知らない男の頭を砕くのを何とも思わない人間になっちまう。俺はそんなの絶対に嫌だ。
What you have to do to live is never completely wrong. That's my philosophy.
心を死なせてまで生きながらえるくらいなら、温かな心のままぷっつり交通事故かなんかで死んだ方がマシだ。
No one argued with that. Toshio's words might have been harsh, but they captured the feelings of the group quite nicely. For a while, everyone stood there in silence, listening to the clatter of the heater.
わしに妙案があるんや。
At some point, Mr. and Mrs. Kayama had arrived in the dining room. The three girls as well, apparently. Everyone except for Mari was now gathered together downstairs.
加山さん、マリちゃんの様子はどうです？
まだ地下室にこもってうなっとる。しばらくは出てきんやろ。
それより妙案というのは？
わしの案というより春子が言い出したことなんや。
こんなことで彼女が救われるかどうかわからないのですが、でもマリさんがどうしても気の毒で。私たちは賛成。私は真実だけが人を救うとは思わないもの。
Three girls nodded quietly. They'd already heard about this big idea of Kayama's.
真実だけが人を救うとは思わないってどういう意味だい？
なるほど、そういう手か。だが本当にマリちゃんを騙し通せると思うか？
You know how they teach I before E except after C in classrooms? That never actually applies in nature. Like, you can count the number of words that actually follow that on one hand.
騙す？そんなこと。
Wait, you mean we can just lie? My god.
そんなつもりじゃないんです。ただわずかの時間だけ彼女の心を癒してあげることができればって。
騙し通せるわけがない。バレてかえってマリちゃんを意固地にさせるだけじゃないかい？
私たちはそうは思わないわ。マリちゃんだってきっと内心は気づいてると思うの。あんなおかしなことをしても絶対にトール君と再会することはできないって。
I'm afraid to play the part 2 of Detective Audino tomorrow. Probably not, but I can help. Definitely not. There's at least one additional game between where we left off and there. Everyone fell silent. Seeing the strength of Mari's feelings, one could be forgiven for believing that a miracle of love might one day occur. But no matter how many times she reached for that miracle, Mari only ended up repeating the same sins over and over again. All those poor young men, so innocent, so many of them. To let her experience the miracle of love just for one night. That had been their hope at first, but...
愛の奇跡とんでもない。あんなの悪魔の所業だろ。誰も幸せになれない。彼女だって。
I know Kiseki is my favorite game in the Trails franchise.
それについては同感かも。トール君でないことがわかるたびに彼女も傷ついてる。
私もそう思うわ。何の救いにもなっていない。
そうなんです。こんなこと早く終わりにしてあげなきゃ。彼女が辛すぎます。
まあつまるとこそういうわけや。マリちゃんとて内心は半分諦めとるやろ。そのきっかけがないだけないんだ。
マリちゃんはたった一日でも二人で過ごせたらそれで納得するとは言っているが、
その納得のいく一人が来なくてこんなことが延々続いてる。狙いはわかるが俺はうまくいくとは思えんね。
騙そうという気持ちでやれば絶対にうまくいかないに決まってる。でも気の毒な彼女のためにせめてわずかの時間でもトール君の思い出に浸らせてあげたい。
If we lie, then it won't work. But if we lie... No, that audio line went way longer than I was expecting. Anyway, liars. Liar, liar, liar. Once again, everyone fell silent. The group's feelings about Mari were far from unanimous. Some pitied her, feeling sympathy for her plight. Others were horrified and didn't want to get involved. The only thing everyone agreed on was this. They couldn't let things keep going on as they were. It was just as Toshio had said. If they didn't do something, their hearts would die. The most frightening thing of all was that they'd grown accustomed to this daily insanity. Some sought solace in the notion of a fleeting miracle. Well-intentioned lie meant to console Mari. Others were fine with straight-up tricking Mari. Anything to bring this crazy world of theirs to a close. Different agendas to sure, but in the end no one opposed Takayama's proposal.
もし裏目に出たら
別にどうもないでしょ。あの子だって私たちの協力がなきゃ望みは叶わないんだから。
What Mari wanted was the miracle of a peaceful day together with Toru. Damn it, Baron, are you interfering again? Thought we had this conversation last time after the Rokima incident. Honestly, that girl just has no respect for anyone else. This day wouldn't be possible without everyone else's willing cooperation.
とは言っても、私たちがあの子より優位に立てる道理もないんだけれど。
I'm onto your games, Duck.
結局は私たちの運命はマリ様の手のひらの上ってわけだもんね。
やる価値はあるわ。ダメならダメで変な気を利かせてごめんねって謝ればいいだけの話。
それでブチギレて興ざめでもしてくれれば万々歳。まあ下手すりゃ私たちも地獄の道連れだけど、こんなことが永遠と繰り返されるくらいならそれも上等だわ。
Plot twist, they are in hell. Ooh. And one of them is secretly Hitler, and the most evil animal is man.
ここ以上の地獄があるかってんだ。
Oh, what you lack is imagination.
そういうこと。加山さんがさっき言った通り、あの子もきっと何かのきっかけを待ってると思うの。うまくいってもいかなくても、
これはそのきっかけになるとは思わない。
吉凶のどちらが出ようとも現状を打破できるなら通す価値はあるな。
What would be a hell more scary than this, Midori? I don't know, any sort of physical injury? People talk a big game about psychological torment because they all live charmed lives, but let me tell you, as someone who has in fact been stabbed at least once, you forget about your personal problems, let me tell you.
うまいこといくことをわしは望んどるで。マリちゃんの道連れはさすがにごめんやからな。
You've been stabbed? Yeah, I was helping out with an arrest. Culprit managed to get loose. Still in handcuffs, but there was a knife in certain range. It only got me in the left hand, but let me tell you, it did feel like only at the time.
オーナー。
京子はどう思う？
マリちゃんも気の毒ですが、敏夫くんたちの気持ちもわかります。
マリさんを嘘で騙すのではなく、彼女の奇跡を運任せではなく私たちの手で叶えてあげましょう。
そういうことなら、私は賛成できるな。
But too bad for them, the miracle never happened.
私も賛成します。
よし、決まりだ。マリちゃんの奇跡を私たちみんなで叶えよう。
A separate... Okay, we are finally in a separate scene. That means we can go back and check all the... I'm kidding. We're gonna end off there for the night. I honestly didn't expect the little drink section to take that long. But whatever the case may be, we certainly have an interesting new path we could go down. You know, I didn't expect this to be the first Ryukishi game I wound up streaming. It's certainly an interesting path, but whatever the case may be, thank you all for showing up today. Tonight's raid target will be Maya Starchild, who is currently playing Splatoon 3. Stream Doctor, no thank you for showing up. It's you all that make this sort of dream, that make the dream possible. See all of you in the future. I wonder how many Toros are going to die between that and now. Well, whatever the number is, it's not my problem. Goodbye, everybody. I'm gonna send my new culprits, so I'll do my damnedest. Good night.